Chapter 1271. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Void Shadow Demon hurriedly knelt on the ground in excitement. It's Shadow's blessing to be able to obtain the Lord Ruler's Source-type power. Shadow will definitely live up to the Lord Ruler's expectations and successfully reach Class 12. After being in contact with Shadow for so long, Lin Yuan knew that Shadow had a cautious personality. It would not do things that it was not confident of. Otherwise, it would not have been able to resist the temptation when he wanted to perform the Source-type baptism on Shadow. He was prepared to wait until he was confident of advancing to Class 12 before using the Source-type baptism for a double blessing. Since Shadow said so, it meant that it was already fully confident. Previously, Lin Yuan had specifically asked Bai Yan if there would be a fatal risk for dimensional life forms to advance from Class 11 to Class 12. Bai Yan's answer was that there was a possibility of failure for dimensional life forms to advance from Class 11 to Class 12. However, even if it failed, it would not die. Therefore, there was nothing for Lin Yuan to worry about. Lin Yuan took the Void Shadow Demon across Klein Hub to the Swamp World and prepared to let Shadow undergo the Source-type baptism in the Swamp World to break through. As a dimensional life form, it was not convenient for the Void Shadow Demon to advance in the Abyss World. However, advancing in the Swamp World, which was a dimensional world like the Abyss World, was much more suitable than the main world. After arriving in the Swamp World, Lin Yuan realized that only 2 days had passed. A lot of fruit trees had been planted in a delineated area in the distance. It seemed that what he had said to those spirit craftsmen had worked. Coincidentally, during these 2 days, Lin Yuan had taken the time to enhance some bronze/epic phase that the spirit craftsman needed. It was a piece of cake for Lin Yuan to enhance bronze/epic phase now, and it would not take much time. The only thing that took Lin Yuan a little longer was the bronze/legend phase that he had prepared for Lu Tong. He saw a Medusa demon planting flowers and plants on the marsh moss, and this Medusa demon was the closest to him. Lin Yuan decided to call this Medusa over and order it to find Lu Tong. Then, he would hand over the benefits that he had promised the spirit craftsman to Lu Tong and let him distribute them. Lin Yuan had thought that these Medusa demons were afraid of him and might have some difficulty communicating. However, he didn't expect that after he called out to this Medusa would look at him with eyes full of worship and respect. Lin Yuan found it a little strange. It had only been 2 days, and he didn't stay in the Swamp World to spend time with this Medusa demon during these 2 days. Why was this Medusa demon not afraid of him? In fact, when Lin Yuan had left the spirit-locked spatial zone the last time, his identity as a ruler had spread among the Medusa demons in the territory. To these Medusa demons who were still dimensional creatures, apostles were already unreachable existences. That was to say nothing of the level above the apostles, the rulers that only existed in legends. To be able to live in the same territory as the hegemon, to be able to interact with the hegemon at such a close distance, and to admire the hegemon's beauty, this was something that the Medusa snake demons didn't even dare to dream of. After learning of Lin Yuan's request, the Medusa demon seemed to be going to complete a sacred mission. It put down the work at hand and twisted its body. He walked solemnly towards the area where the spirit craftsmen were working. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan turned around and entered the breeding room where the 50 questions beasts were working. This breeding room was built in a hurry and didn't look like much from the outside. However, the internal space was extremely large. 100 questions beast occupied a room that was about the size of a square meter, and the room was equipped with top-notch creation master tools. During Lin Yuan's ward rounds, none of the 50 questions beasts had disappointed him. In 2 days, almost every 100 questions beast had concocted 5 bottles of Class 3 spirit liquids. Among them, Fat Orange, which Lin Yuan had personally nurtured, had concocted as many as 7 bottles of Class 3 spirit liquids. In these 2 days, the 100 Questions Beast Legion had provided him with a total of 281 bottles of Class 3 spirit liquids. Lin Yuan was very satisfied with this. After setting up some cat trees and toys for these 50 Questions Beasts in the breeding room, Lin Yuan left the breeding room. After leaving the breeding room, Lin Yuan saw Lu Tong, who was covered in mud, standing at attention 20 meters in front of the building. Upon seeing Lin Yuan appear at the building's entrance, Lu Tong hurriedly took 2 steps forward and arrived beside Lin Yuan. He spoke to Lin Yuan with a face full of smiles. "My lord, in less than a week, we will be able to complete the light room that your cat, Fei, asked us to build." Upon hearing Lu Tong's words, Lin Yuan reached out to pat off the mud on Lu Tong's chest and shoulders. He said, "Lu Tong, please put in more effort to make arrangements for the construction." "Yes, this is the Fei that you reported previously. I have brought it for you this time." After speaking, Lin Yuan handed a diamond Fei storage box to Lu Tong. Lin Yuan knew about the light room that Lu Tong had mentioned. This was the temporary work that Genius had arranged for the spirit craftsman to plant the soldier supply radishes in the spirit lock spatial zone. The purpose of the light room was to allow the soldier supply radishes to grow better. Therefore, putting aside the original work and building the light room first was the best choice for development. When Lu Tong heard Lin Yuan's words, he was immediately stunned. He didn't dare to accept the diamond Fei storage box that Lin Yuan handed over. It would be a lie to say that Lu Tong wasn't pleasantly surprised. As the person with vested interests, Lu Tong was undoubtedly happier than the other spirit craftsmen. The other spirit craftsmen had only obtained bronze/epic Feis, while Lu Tong had obtained a bronze/legend Fei. However, compared to being pleasantly surprised, Lu Tong was more surprised and touched. In just 2 days, the city lordess that they were loyal to had brought 34 bronze/epic Feis and 1 bronze/legend Fei, according to their needs. Let's not talk about what kind of resources this was. More importantly, this matter could show that the city lord that he was loyal to didn't look down on them just because they were insignificant spirit craftsmen. Instead, the city lord had kept the promise to them in mind and immediately started to make preparations. The respect that came from caring made Lu Tong's heart thump. When Lu Tong didn't accept the diamond Fei storage box, Lin Yuan shook his wrist and said, "Let's see if there are any problems with the Feis in the Fei storage box. Let's see if there are any problems with the Feis in the Fei storage box first. If there are any problems when you distribute them later, remember to report them." A few of the Fei's bloodlines have evolved and mutated during the enhancement process. They're somewhat different from the Feis that were originally reported. However, the direction of these Fei's mutations and evolutions are all positive, so I didn't exchange these Feis. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lu Tong immediately realized that he had been in a daze. ABC, Chapter 1272. Lu Tong hurriedly took the diamond Fei storage box from Lin Yuan's palm and thought to himself, "I wonder which fellow is so lucky to actually obtain a Fei that has undergone a positive mutation and evolution." A bronze Fei was a good evolution and mutation Fei that was hard to come by. Anyone who obtained one would probably jump with joy. It was impossible for anyone to dislike a Fei with a positive mutation. After instructing Lu Tong took the diamond Fei storage box and went back to work. At that moment, the slaughter sky butterfly came to Lin Yuan's side and said, "That's right. Young Master, Wendy, Shi Tung, and Bai Xian aren't in the territory right now. If you need anything from them, I'll help you find them immediately." Lin Yuan shook his head. As apostles, Wendy, Shi Tung, and Bai Xian shouldn't be like flowers in a greenhouse. Having the opportunity to go out and gain experience was a good thing. Furthermore, he had nothing to look for them in the spirit lock spatial zone this time, so he did not need to call them back. Through his previous conversation with Bai Yin, Lin Yuan had learned about the division of the swamp region. Lin Yuan secretly placed the battlefield in the swamp world on Ta Tungong. Thus, as his apostles Shi Tung, Wendy, and Bai Xian needed to grow as fast as possible. Kill the sky butterfly. Let the 3 of them train outside. If there's nothing urgent, there's no need to call them back. By the way, how has your bloodline recovered recently? The slaughterer sky butterfly replied, "Thanks to the earth-type heavenly maiden grade elemental pearl that young master gave me, my bloodline has completely recovered. Also, I have just advanced to the monarch stage, so I need some time to adapt to the increase in my strength." However, if I want to improve my strength again, I won't be able to face a new creation tribulation in a short period of time." As it spoke, the slaughter butterfly could not help but sigh softly. The slaughter sky butterfly, which possessed the supreme bloodline of the three butterfly species phase, had always been conceited about its strength improvement speed. During this period of time, in the swamp world, the killer butterfly saw the strength of the dimensional creatures increase. He realized that compared to dimensional life forms, it was much more difficult for him to increase his strength as a fae. The way dimensional creatures relied on devouring flesh to raise their levels reminded the slaughter butterfly of when it was still a slaughter worm. However, now that he had transformed into a slaughter butterfly, he wanted to rely on the slaughter worms to increase his strength. It was already impossible. It was not that the killer butterfly had not thought of asking him for some law crystals. Previously, he had used a large number of rule crystals to forcefully raise his strength to a creation breed. However, Lin Yuan had taken the initiative to give it to him previously. Now, the killer butterfly had to ask Lin Yuan for it. The scourge sky butterfly was too embarrassed to open its mouth. At that moment, the killer butterfly saw Lin Yuan hand it a small wooden box. When the predator butterfly opened it, it was almost blinded by the small wooden chest full of law crystals. The killer butterfly only heard Lin Yuan's words. "There are 2,000 law crystals in here. Take them and use them first. Tell Zxiao to inform me when you're done. I'll prepare it for you. I will continue to provide you with law crystals until your strength increases to the 5 tribulations of creation. After you advance to the 5th tribulation of creation, you'll need the world crystal to increase your strength. It's really difficult for me to obtain a world crystal at the moment. Therefore, when it comes to the 5 tribulations of creation, you will need to work hard on your own." As he spoke, Lin Yuan could not help but think of the world origin crystal he had given to Princess and the 2 world crystals he had given to her. That world origin crystal had been completely absorbed by Princess. However, it would take her 7 days to absorb each of the 2 world crystals. In order to protect Zheng, Kaiyuan, and Miao Ji, the Miao family's beast creation garden had been extorted 2 world crystals. One of them was produced by the Class 1 creation Holy Rejuvenation White Deer. The other one was from a Level 3 Monarch rank creation stage, 2nd level Submerged Blue Whale. After Princess absorbed the Law Origin Crystal, compared to the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Law Crystal, Princess had never absorbed the Wood Law and World Law. She undoubtedly wanted to absorb the Holy Rejuvenation White Deer's Law Crystal. But in the end, Lin Yuan still decided to let Princess absorb the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Law Crystal. Lin Yuan had the healing type Fae, the Jasmine Lily, whose existence could already meet most of Lin Yuan's medical needs. Therefore, no matter how strategic the Holy Rejuvenation White Deer's Law Crystal was, the absorption order was slightly later than the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Law Crystal. In the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Law Crystal, the ocean was constantly changing. It also contained the ability to constantly switch between water and ice. This showed that the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Law Crystal could give Lin Yuan immunity to both water and ice attributes at the same time. It could also provide Lin Yuan with a sword skill that combined water and ice. This sword skill could be used with Blue. In another 3 days, Princess would be able to finish absorbing the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Law Crystal. Lin Yuan's heart felt as though someone was scratching it. He was looking forward to the Submerged Ocean Blue Whale's Vast Water World, as well as the Vast Water World's sword skill in Holy Sword mode. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, the killer butterfly silently took the box. It wanted to quickly increase its strength. This way, it could better protect its little hubby, Purple Sky. In addition, the killer butterfly had already seen how rich Lin Yuan was. Therefore, it was not very surprised that Lin Yuan had given it 2,000 law crystals. However, after receiving a crate of law crystals, the killer butterflies should be quite happy. Compared to the law crystals themselves, what made it even happier was that this box of law crystals had been given by Eunuch Lin. This showed that Lin Yuan loved his daughter-in-law very much. After receiving Lin Yuan's law crystals, the slaughter sky butterfly immediately found a place to absorb them to increase its strength. After settling everything, Lin Yuan lowered his head and spoke to his shadow. Let's begin. As Lin Yuan's voice fell, the void shadow demon's figure appeared 50 meters in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's hand trembled when he saw the solemn void shadow demon. He poured the 9,900 portions of source-type power that the princess had prepared in advance into the void shadow devil's body. After the source-type energy entered the void shadow fiend's body, there was no phenomenon. However, with the void shadow demon's body as the center, the entire world was instantly covered in a layer of shadow. Large swathes of shadows kept surging out of the void shadow demon's body, causing its face to reveal an expression of both pain and joy. However, the joy on the void shadow demon's face soon disappeared. This was because the shadows shooting out of the void shadow demon's body seemed to have instantly turned into knives, turning the void shadow demon's body into a hornet's nest. End of chapter. Chapter 1273. However, even if its body had turned into a hornet's nest, the surging shadows still didn't stop. The void shadow devil's body was constantly being destroyed by the shadows. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan suddenly felt that the void shadow devil's breakthrough was very similar to when he had consumed the geocentric jade milk. After consuming the geocentric jade milk, his body had also been constantly being destroyed and reconstructed. After countless reconstructions, his body had undergone earth-shattering changes. However, at that time, he had been unable to move due to the pain of his body's reconstruction. However, the void shadow devil was able to move its body willfully under the intense pain. The void shadow devil seemed to want to relieve the pain as it used its 3-inch-long purplish-black nails to scratch its body. The sharp nails made the void shadow devil's already broken body look even more pitiful, and it also made Lin Yuan secretly worried. However, after scratching twice, the void shadow devil's purplish-black nails fell off one by one. Afterward, the pure black nails suddenly grew out of the void shadow devil's fingers. The newly grown nails became even sharper and longer. The pure black nails continued to scratch more wounds on the void shadow devil's body. The increase in the number of wounds also caused the void shadow devil's shadow to surge out at an increasingly faster speed. At that moment, the void shadow devil's body suddenly blended into the shadows, and the world in front of it turned dark. After a few hours, there were still no movements in the dark world. Just as Lin Yuan was worried about the void shadow devil situation and was about to summon it, the void shadow devil's figure appeared 50 meters in front of Lin Yuan again. When the void shadow devil appeared again, the shadows in the world seemed to have found a home and retracted back into the void shadow devil's body. The receding shadows finally revealed the void shadow devil's appearance. If Lin Yuan wasn't certain that this life form was shadow, he wouldn't have imagined that this life form had evolved from the dimensional life form, the void shadow devil. The Class 11 8th Tribulation Void shadow devil's body was green and purple. Although it had a humanoid body, no matter how one looked at it, the brutal and cold aura made the void shadow devil look like an uncivilized beast. It was unknown if the Class 12 Void Shadow Devil had been living in the human world for a period of time. It was used to the appearance of humans and didn't deliberately imitate them. As long as one did not look at its face, the Void Shadow Demon looked very much like a spirit chi professional. Previously, the Void Shadow Fiend was about 1.8 meters tall. Even though its body was thin, its muscles still carried a sense of sturdiness unique to abyss-dimensional creatures. After leveling up to level 12, the Void Shadow Fiend was only about 1.7 meters tall, and its body had become thinner and more bony. The sturdiness of his muscles was completely hidden under his skin. This kind of height and build was undoubtedly more suitable for the Void Shadow Fiend's assassination style. Actually, that wasn't the only change in the Void Shadow Fiend's appearance. The purple and green colors on the Void Shadow Demon's body had completely disappeared. Only black and white were left. The The Void Shadow Demon's skin was white, his hair was white, and his eyebrows were white. His eyes, lips, and nails had all turned pure black, the same color as the shadows in the darkness. Although the teeth of the Void Shadow Demon were still the same as before, it would still reveal its black lips. However, the transformed Void Shadow Fiend was undoubtedly more in line with human aesthetics. The current Void Shadow Fiend was undoubtedly much more pleasing to the eye than before. At the same time, on the back of the Void Shadow Fiend's right hand, there was a totem that was covered by a large amount of shadows. This totem symbolized the identity of the Void Shadow Fiend's apostle. The Void Shadow Fiend observed himself through the shadow, feeling happy and conflicted at the same time. The Void Shadow Fiend was a low-level demon that was looked down upon in the Abyss world because of its thin body. Its greatest wish in life was to be able to become a behemoth like the Horned Demon. It wanted to use its sturdy body to gain the respect of other demons and win the heart of the succubus. Who would have thought that after becoming stronger, it would also become smaller? No, it had become shorter and thinner. This was equivalent to a programmer who had always wanted to be promoted and get a raise. But when its salary increased from 10,000 to 20,000, before it could be happy, it realized that its head was bald. This was probably the feeling in the Void Shadow Fiend's heart. The Void Shadow Fiend was afraid that Lin Yuan would despise its current appearance. The Void Shadow Fiend thought in its heart, Lin Yuan wouldn't despise me like the other abyssal demons because I became thinner and shorter, right? At that moment, the Void Shadow Fiend saw Lin Yuan walking toward it and saying, "Shadow, your current appearance is much more pleasing to the eye. Shadow, your current appearance is much more pleasing to the eye. As long as you wear a mask that can cover your mouth, even if you walk outside, no one will notice anything abnormal." The Void Shadow Fiend was relieved when it heard Lin Yuan's words. In any case, Lin Yuan did not hate his appearance after becoming shorter and thinner after advancing. Moreover, Lin Yuan's praise made the Void Shadow Fiend no longer resist the changes in its height and body shape. This was because in the Void Shadow Fiend's world, there was nothing more important than making the Lord Ruler that it served happy. After checking the changes in the Void Shadow Fiend's body, Lin Yuan took out a set of Spirit Chi clothes and threw it to the Void Shadow Fiend. When the Void Shadow Fiend saw Lin Yuan throw the clothes to it, it hurriedly thanked him. Then, it carefully put on the clothes, afraid that its sharp nails would slip and tear the clothes. Now that the Void Shadow Fiend had reached the immortal level, Lin Yuan knew that he could no longer use Morbius True Data to find out the Void Shadow Fiend's attributes. However, Lin Yuan was very curious about the changes in the Void Shadow Fiend's original talent, Fleeing Shadow, and what its new talent was. The Void Shadow Fiend had already pledged its loyalty to him, so he could just ask about its talent. The Void Shadow Fiend had no reason not to tell him. Therefore, Lin Yuan asked the Void Shadow Fiend, "After the Void Shadow Fiend became an apostle, did your talent, Fleeing Shadow and Slaughter Shadow, improve in any way?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Void Shadow Fiend quickly replied, "Lord Ruler, based on my talent, Fleeing Shadow and Slaughter Shadow, I can hide in the shadow of any object to conceal my body. Advancing to an apostle did not significantly improve my Fleeing Shadow ability. Still, only targets that are 2 levels higher than me can sense me. However, when I attack the shadow of other targets while in the Slaughter Shadow state, I will apply a shattering effect on the inanimate object. When attacking the shadow of an inanimate object, the damage will be reflected back to the main body." Upon hearing the Void Shadow Fiend's words, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 1274. Based on the Void Shadow Demon's reply, Lin Yuan knew that the Void Shadow Demon's apostle talent, Fleeing Shadow, and Slaughter Shadow's improvement lay in its shattering effect on inanimate objects. Moreover, the damage to living beings was doubled. The Void Shadow Fiend was a dimensional creature that used assassination as its combat method. His innate ability, Fleeing Shadow/Slaughter Shadow, multiplied the lethality of the Void Shadow Fiend. This allowed the Void Shadow Fiend to effectively attack targets stronger than itself, Upon seeing Lin Yuan's expression, the Void Shadow Demon knew that Lin Yuan was very satisfied with the improvement of his innate specialty, fleeing shadow/slaughter shadow. Lin Yuan's satisfaction made the Void Shadow Devil exceptionally happy. Hence, the Void Shadow Demon wanted to prove himself. Before Lin Yuan could ask what the Void Shadow Demon's new talent was, it had already spoken. Lord Sovereign, the innate ability I obtained after advancing to an apostle is called Shadow Stinger Dorsal Stinger. In my opinion, Shadowthorn Stinger is much stronger than fleeing shadow/slaughtering shadow. Shadow Stinger Backstinger allows me to lock onto a shadow target within range and launch a backstab attack on this shadow target, appearing behind the target through the shadow. When I use Shadowthorn Backstab on a specific target, all other targets with shadows within the range will have their eyes covered by the shadow and enter a blind state. Moreover, when I pierce my nails into the target's body, I can also use my nails to absorb the target's vitality to recover the injuries I receive. Upon hearing the Void Shadow Demon's words, Lin Yuan nearly applauded for it. If it was really as the Void Shadow Demon said, then the innate ability Shadowthorn Stingerback that the Void Shadow Demon obtained after advancing to an apostle really was a bit too powerful. Its innate specialty, Shadow Stinger Dorsal Stinger, allows the Void Shadow Demon to teleport within a certain range using its shadow. Moreover, he was moving behind the target. Under normal circumstances, the back of any life form would be the blind spot of that life form. It was equivalent to a position where the target could not defend immediately. This position might not necessarily be the target's weakness, but it could greatly increase the success rate of the Void Shadow Demon's attack. This was an ability that the Nether Shadow Fiend had obtained without activating the Shadowthorn Stinger. When Nether Shadow Fiend actively activated Shadowthorn Stinger, it could apply a blind control effect to all targets within its range. This would effectively prevent other units from rescuing the Shadowless Demons. This greatly increased the success rate of the Void Shadow Fiend's assassination. As for the fact that the Void Shadow Fiend could absorb the target's life force to recover from injuries during the assassination, it was considered to increase the Void Shadow Fiend's battle endurance. When the Void Shadow Demon encountered a strong enemy, it could continuously assassinate other targets. It was a battle of attrition against a life form that was stronger than itself. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the Shadow Stinger Backstinger was perfectly compatible with the Void Shadow Devil's overall style. This allowed the Void Shadow Fiend to advance further on the path of an assassin. This kind of Void Shadow Demon was enough to strike fear into the hearts of any creature of the same level. Lin Yuan looked at the Void Shadow Fiend, which was a head lower than him, and reached out to touch its head of white hair. He smiled and said, "It's fine. The current you can fight against at least 10 of your previous selves. In the future, we will have the opportunity to enter the Abyss world. When you find a target you like, you can take him in as a believer. Or you can see if there are any dimensional creatures in the swamp world that you like. You can take them all in." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Void Shadow Devil felt enlightened. Once upon a time, it was still an existence that was despised in the Abyss world. A month ago, it was still in the purple gold cage, waiting to be killed. But a month later, not only had its strength improved, but it had also become an apostle. It had even been promoted to an apostle that it did not even dare to dream of. All of this stemmed from the Lord Ruler's appreciation. For some reason, apart from respect for Lin Yuan, the Void Shadow Devil had developed a different kind of feeling for him. In fact, the Void Shadow Devil had long had a plan for the choice of its believers in the future. Compared to the Horned Demon, the Flame Demon, which was good at fire elemental attacks, and the Succubus, which it was very greedy for, the Void Shadow Devil wanted to take in a large number of its kind as believers. It wanted to announce to the entire Abyss world that the Void Shadow Devil was not an existence that could be mocked. The Void Shadow Devil wanted to rely on itself to let the entire Void Shadow Devil race in the Abyss world to gain the respect of other demons. Therefore, the Void Shadow Devil frankly told Lin Yuan its thoughts. "Exalted Sovereign, in the future, I would like all of my believers and benefactors to become void shadow devils. At that time, I can create an assassin squad for you to serve you." After thinking about the void shadow devil's proposal, Lin Yuan felt it was very feasible. The white-clothed followers that Sky City accepted were more like warriors and could not do the work of assassins. If Sky City wanted to develop, it was bound to be stained with blood. Therefore, Sky City needed a sharp blade to solve everything in the dark. The assassin squad that Shadow formed by taking in void shadow devils as believers was enough to take on the responsibility of Sky City's sharp blade in the dark. There were not many void shadow devils among the abyss demons, and it was very difficult to encounter them. However, this was not a difficult thing for Lin Yuan. When the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift opened and Long Tao presided over the development of the faction in the Abyss world, he would let Long Tao help him pay special attention to find void shadow devils. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly thought of the faith plunder that Bailan had obtained when she reached Platinum in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone the night before. Faith plunder allowed Bailan's power of faith to be injected into the target, who could control the power of faith. The intensity of the power of faith in the target's body would be filled. This was the ability of faith plunder in the aspect of giving. Plunder showed that Bailan could use her own power of faith as a measure to seize control of the power of faith of the target, whose power of faith was lower than her own. Faith plunder was strong, but the power of faith in Bailan's body was limited. However, one should not forget that Bailan's gold faith possession allowed Lin Yuan to fuse with Bailan. He could inject his own power of faith into Bailan's body and fuse with her power of faith. This allowed Lin Yuan to use faith plunder while fusing with Bailan, which was equivalent to using Lin Yuan's own faith as the standard. It could give and suppress other targets who could control the power of faith. Looking at the totem in the void shadow devil's hand in front of him, Lin Yuan planned to try the effect of Bailan's platinum faith plunder. Anyway, Lin Yuan had used faith possession in front of the void shadow devil and turned into a mermaid. Thus, Lin Yuan had nothing to be embarrassed about now. Chapter 1275. Therefore, Lin Yuan immediately used Blue's faith possession to fuse with it. Shadow was a little embarrassed when Lin Yuan touched its head. Just as it was about to speak, it saw Lin Yuan transform into his body of domination. Last time, Lin Yuan had transformed into his body of domination and only dared to sneak a glance before looking away. It was afraid that its gaze would profane Lin Yuan's body of domination. However, at that moment, Lin Yuan's body of domination's breathtaking beauty deeply shocked Shadow. Now that it saw Lin Yuan's body of domination again, Shadow was still stunned. Lin Yuan's body of domination made the void Shadow Fiend nervous. It thought that Lin Yuan had found something unusual. According to legends, the body of domination was often when the ruler was about to use its power. At this moment, the void shadow demon heard Lin Yuan's words. "I want to use you to test one of my abilities. My ability won't harm you, so you don't have to be nervous. If you feel any discomfort during the experiment, tell me immediately. I will also carefully observe your situation." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Shadow hurriedly said, "Lord Ruler, Lord Sovereign, feel free to experiment with Shadow. I might be small, but my body is very strong." After saying that, Shadow stood on the spot without any defense, ready to let Lin Yuan do whatever he wanted. For Shadow, its body could be tested by the Lord Ruler. It was definitely a great honor for it. When Lin Yuan got Shadow's response, he immediately lifted his fishtail. The power of faith instantly gushed out of the shrine in Lin Yuan's soul. Lin Yuan's fluttering long hair instantly turned from blue to a rich amber color. 12 amber water pillars soared into the sky from under Lin Yuan's feet. The spinning water pillars swept up the clouds, and the power of faith in them made Shadow widen its eyes. It was shocked by the massive power of faith in Lin Yuan's body of domination. Then, Lin Yuan pointed at Shadow, and the 12 amber water pillars fused into a gentle water belt. The amber-colored rippling water shot straight into Ying's body. Shadow found that the power of faith in the totem on the back of its hand was increasing rapidly. Since Shadow had just become an apostle, no matter how strong it was, the power of faith in the Shadow Totem was still extremely weak. In just a few seconds, the power of faith in the Shadow Totem rose from extremely weak to slightly above weak. Shadow muttered to himself as he sensed the power of faith in the totem. How is this uncomfortable? This is simply too comfortable, okay? The power of faith was the source of the apostle's power. Shadow had heard of the power of a ruler, but he had never heard that a ruler could use his faith power to increase the faith power of an apostle. But before Obscurus could experience this comfortable feeling for a long time, Obscurus knew what true discomfort was. The moment the power of faith in Shadow's totem changed from weak to below average, Shadow felt the totem on the back of his right hand distort violently. It was like a balloon that had been filled with water to its limit. If more water was poured into the balloon, it would explode. Lin Yuan had been observing Shadow's state. When he noticed that the void Shadow Demon's expression was abnormal, he immediately stopped. He immediately stopped pouring the power of faith in a shadow through faith plunder. Based on the results of Shadow's experiment, Lin Yuan roughly deduced the limits of his faith seize on the apostles. Even if he had enough power of faith in his shrine, he couldn't endlessly pour it into his apostles. Using this type of skill to increase the apostle's faith power would probably only increase it by a large level. Any more, and it would bring harm to the apostle. After Lin Yuan stopped pouring in the power of faith, Shadow immediately exclaimed, "Exalted Hegemon, I can now use the sacred origin body." Upon hearing Shadow's words, Lin Yuan immediately became interested. Lin Yuan remembered that when Bai Yin and the Dark Scorpion Apostle had been fighting, both of them had used their origin saint bodies. The Sacred Source Body could be considered the second ability of the Apostle's power of faith, and it could only be obtained when the Apostle's power of faith was below average. After Bai Yin and the Dark Scorpion Apostle activated their sacred origin bodies, they immediately transformed into human form. As his strength increased, he could also use an ability called the Holy Secret Art. Lin Yuan said to the Void Shadow Devil, "Shadow, since you can use it now, then use your Sacred Source Body. Let me see what kind of ability your sacred technique has." During his conversation with Bai Yin, Lin Yuan had learned that the Dark Scorpion Apostle's Sacred Art's ability was Disintegrate. When the Nether Scorpion Apostle's Holy Art landed on a living body's body, the living body's constituent cells would quickly separate. It was extremely destructive to living beings. The reason why Bai Yin was able to devour the Dark Scorpion Apostle's Holy Art was because Bai Yin's Holy Art's ability was to repeat. The Holy Art Reprise ability allowed Bai Yin to completely devour the power of faith of any Holy Art whose power wasn't higher than his own apostle. Holy Art Bai Yin, whose power of faith was higher than his own apostle, could only devour a portion. Then it spat out its own Holy Secret Art and the Holy Secret Art it had devoured, and launched an attack at the target. It could be said that the abilities of the Apostle's Sacred Source Body were very unique. Therefore, Lin Yuan could no longer hold back his curiosity about the Shadow Holy Art. In fact, Lin Yuan wasn't just curious about Shadow's Holy Art. Lin Yuan was also very curious about the changes in the Holy Shadow Source Body's appearance. Now that Shadow was no different from a human, what kind of changes would it have after becoming a Sacred Source Body? When Shadow heard Lin Yuan's words, it immediately used the totem's power of faith that Lin Yuan had poured into it to execute the Sacred Source Body. Lin Yuan saw that the white parts of Shadow's body instantly became transparent, and the black parts also became shadows. Shadow's Sacred Source Body seemed to have disappeared in front of Lin Yuan. However, through the power of faith that he had poured into Shadow, Lin Yuan was sure that Shadow had been standing in front of him and hadn't moved. Lin Yuan thought to himself, Shadow's Sacred Source Body transforms itself into a shadow-like existence. Shadow's Sacred Source Body greatly enhances its concealment ability. During the process of Shadow executing the Sacred Source Body, Lin Yuan found that the power of faith that he had poured into Shadow was slowly being consumed. Shadow released the sacred source body for a moment and said to Lin Yuan excitedly, Lord Ruler, my holy art can merge with any shadow. Great Sovereign, my holy art can merge with any shadow. It can also explode in the shadow according to my will, transferring the damage to shadow to the main body. When Lin Yuan heard Shadow's words, he raised his eyebrows. It seemed that Shadow's holy art had added a long-range ability to Shadow. This allowed Shadow to not only be able to fight in close combat during battles. After Lin Yuan understood the Shadow stab-back sting that Shadow had obtained after becoming an apostle, Lin Yuan found a potential weakness. Shadow's seemingly invincible ability actually had a fatal weakness. Chapter 1276. When facing a target like the yellow jadeite golden butterfly, the Void Shadow Fiend would not be able to injure the target. It would be severely injured by the shield's recoil ability. Now that the Shadow Saint Art's attack method had reduced this disadvantage. Shadow, your holy art has added an attack method for you. This hidden killing method will definitely have a good effect in battle. I'm going to continue to try my ability. After saying that, Lin Yuan once again used Faith Plunder on Shadow. However, this time, Lin Yuan did not use Faith Plunder, but the ability to control the power of faith. The moment Lin Yuan used the skill, a huge phantom formed by the power of faith appeared behind him in his mermaid state. The moment the amber phantom and Lin Yuan's finger pointed at Shadow, a strange light flashed in front of them. Shadow found that it had lost the ability to mobilize the power of faith. When Lin Yuan used Faith Plunder on Shadow, he did not take back the power of faith that he had injected into Shadow. He did not take back the power of faith that he had injected into Shadow. In other words, he could rely on the power of faith in his body to firmly suppress the apostles whose power of faith was below average. It made the apostles with lower than average levels of faith lose their control over the power of faith. This was almost no different from lowering the apostles' life forms and turning them back into dimensional life forms. Moreover, with the strength of the power of faith in his body, he could not only suppress the apostles whose power of faith was below average. This ability had a strong strategic significance for his development in the dimensional world. After experimenting with Faith Plunder, Lin Yuan removed the suppression on Shadow's power of faith. At the same time, he took back the power of faith that he had injected into Shadow. The apostles could recover the power of faith consumed in battle, but Lin Yuan's power of faith was consumed. Therefore, Lin Yuan would not let the power of faith be consumed to increase the strength of the apostles' power of faith. Shadow, Lizard Tongue, Windy, and Baiyin should rely on themselves to increase the strength of the power of faith. It was better to use this method as a trump card against a strong enemy. Baiyin believed that he was a ruler and followed him, treating Blue's water of faith as a ruler treasure. Under this premise, as long as Lin Yuan did not reveal any flaws and Baiyin saw through him, he would not be a ruler. Then, Baiyin would be the strongest combat power under him. Through Faith Plunder, he should be able to increase Baiyin's power of faith to an extremely high level. This type of power of faith was already at the peak level among apostles. If he were to buff Baiyin, then it wouldn't be impossible for him to break through the East Marsh Palace. Lin Yuan coveted the sacred source life forms in East Marsh Palace. After giving Shadow a ball of water of faith, he left the swamp world. In Miao Jinshan's study in the Miao family's beast creation garden, Miao Zhua and Miao, he stood on Miao Jinshan's left and right, reporting the situation to Miao Jinshan softly. Miao Jinshan nodded in satisfaction when he heard Miao Zhua's report. Compared to Miao Zhua was undoubtedly more satisfactory to Miao Jinshan. However, Miao Zhua's soul spirit was injured, and he couldn't become a Class 4 Creation Master. From this point of view, it would be difficult to convince the masses to appoint Miao Zhua as the next patriarch of the Miao family. After being promoted by him, Miao he was no longer a wastrel like before. It was rare for him to be so serious. However, Miao he was lacking in strategy and courage compared to Miao Zhua. Miao Jinshan asked Miao Zhua, "Zhua, what do you think is the possibility of Sky City helping the Blissful Sea Clan in the Blood Oath duel with our Beast Creation Garden?" Miaojua knew that his grandfather had been worrying about this problem for the past 2 days. His grandfather was the one who had initiated the Blood Oath duel, so he definitely felt that Sky City wouldn't help the Blissful Sea clan in the Blood Oath duel. However, Miaojua's eyes flickered. He didn't want to follow his grandfather's train of thought. Following his grandfather's train of thought would only make him happy for a while. There wouldn't be any tangible benefits if he succeeded, but if he failed, his grandfather would think that he was short-sighted. After thinking about it, Miaojua felt that he should give his grandfather a warning, even though this precaution might make Grandpa unhappy. Grandfather, I think we still have to be wary of Sky City. Previously, when we helped the Zheng family in the Blood Oath duel with Sky City will inevitably take revenge. Miao Zhinshan frowned when he heard Miaojua's words. He turned to Miao He and asked, "Here, what do you think?" When Miao He heard Miaojua's suggestion, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Wasn't Miaojua making trouble for his grandfather by saying this? Grandfather was the one who initiated the Blood Oath duel. What difference was there between Miaojua saying this and slapping his grandfather's face? Grandfather, you should have investigated the Aurora Pollen incident. The Aurora Pollen incident against the Blissful Sea clan has been planned for several months. Sun Ning Xiang of the Du Immortal Garden is also involved in it. The Du Immortal Garden is on good terms with Sky City, and the Du Immortal Garden is targeting the Blissful Sea clan. According to their relationship, there's no reason for Sky City to help the Blissful Sea clan. Moreover, we've planted many spies in the Blissful Sea clan over 10 years ago. It's possible that 1 or 2 of our spies would be discovered by the Blissful Sea clan. However, we've planted more than 20 spies in the Blissful Sea clan. All of them told us that the Blissful Sea clan sought help from Sky City, but was rejected. Now that the Blissful Sea clan is in chaos, Qi Hung has started to clean up the Blissful Sea clan. It seems like he wants to replace Qi Wangyang and replace Qi Haitao. Clearly, Qi Hung has gone crazy. I feel that Big Brother's words are a little too frightening. Miaojua didn't choose to confront Miao He directly. Instead, he chose to ignore it. Seeing that his grandfather didn't reply to Miao He, Miaojua knew that his grandfather was still uncertain. His grandfather was making a risky move, so risky that even if Miao He had the same opinion as him, he couldn't be sure. Thus, Miaojua spoke softly. "Grandfather, if there's really no other way, I'll look for Lord Lin Yuan to inquire about the situation. Or you can look for the Whale Ocean Trading Company. The Whale Ocean Trading Company's cooperation with us has already been finalized. If we ask the Whale Ocean Trading Company for help now, I'm sure they won't refuse. With an immortal expert helping us, even if Sky City really helps the Blissful Sea clan, there's nothing to fear." Miaojua's words resonated with Miao Zhinshan's heart. However, Miao Zhinshan still decided to take a gamble. He was betting that Sky City wouldn't help the Blissful Sea clan in the Blood Oath Extreme duel. If he lost the gamble, he could still ask the Moon Empress Disciple or the Whale Ocean Trading Company for help. Since he was going to owe them a favor, there was no need to nip it in the bud. Chapter 1277. It was a good thing that the Beast Creation Garden had 7 more Emperor-class experts, but some of them had become arrogant because of their increased strength. Miao Zhinshan was very dissatisfied. To put it bluntly, these people had only been Emperor-class experts. They had relied on the resources of the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to climb up step by step. However, their arrogant attitude made Miao Zhinshan feel that if he died one day, Miao He and Miaojua would definitely not be able to suppress them. Therefore, Miao Zhinshan decided to send them to participate in the Blood Oath duel with the Blissful Sea clan. It would be fine if Sky City did not help the Blissful Sea clan. Even if they did, Miao Zhinshan would not feel too much pain in losing a few Emperor-class experts. As Miao Zhinshan's discomfort and anxiety grew stronger, the Blood Oath duel between the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and the Blissful Sea clan officially began. Lin Yuan did not plan to participate in this Blood Oath duel. As the City Lord of Sky City, there was no need for him to join in the fun since it did not affect Sky City itself. Lin Yuan's current attention was all on the sword skill that he was about to obtain and the large whale fall under the Blissful Sea clan's distant sea. He simply let Shadow go to the extreme battle arena alone. A few hours later, Shadow would bring back the creation breed, Fey Carcass, and World Crystal. He did not need to care about the blissful Sea clan's experts' lives. He instructed Shadow to let the experts from the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden summon a few more Fays before attacking. That way, he would be able to gain more. Lin Yuan did not care about the blood oath duel between the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden and the blissful Sea clan, but the other factions and onlookers did not think so. The Zheng family's blood oath duel against Sky City as a veteran faction had caused such a huge commotion. Not to mention that this matter involved a veteran faction and a top faction. There had always been speculation on the internet that Sky City might participate in the blood oath battle between the Beast Creation Garden and the Blissful Ocean Tribe to take revenge on the Meow family. Sky City was the hottest topic on the internet, and the popular posts were almost all discussions about this matter. The discussions even suppressed the gossip of a top faction's core member being cuckolded and a veteran faction's family head being abused by his wife. Lin Yuan needed to harvest the power of faith from the main world. So he, who usually never gossiped, patiently browsed through the posts related to Sky Castles. As the Radiance Federation's second world, there was no lack of people making a living. Professional reporters would usually report the truth according to the facts. Even if they were to exaggerate, they had to be based on facts. As long as one focused on a hot topic, one's thoughts would spread, leading to all kinds of conspiracy theories, constructs, and conjectures. Lin Yuan did not know whether to laugh or cry at these conspiracy theories and conjectures. If Lin Yuan wasn't the person involved, he would have been fooled by Red's conjecture and hypothesis. Let's see what the topics of these gossip posts are. The City Lord of Sky City scolds the Beast Creation Garden for being too high profile in the conference hall, saying that those who don't help the Sea of Bliss aren't true men. Breaking news. The strongest combat power of Sky City is no match for the Beast Creation Garden. According to reports, the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden and Sky City have reached a private settlement. There were plenty of discussions and curses under all kinds of posts, but Lin Yuan didn't want to intervene. That was because these gossipy posts spread the fame of Sky City to a certain extent. Lin Yuanhong kept Sky City's popularity high. Even Lin Yuan, the City Lord of Sky City, was often mentioned. It could be said that the blood oath duel between the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden and the Sea of Bliss had become the center of the entire Radiance Federation's discussion. Even ordinary people who weren't spirit chi professionals would comment on this matter when they went to buy the usnea vines and jasmine lilies in the morning. As soon as the blood oath duel started, 3 Emperor-class experts flew out from the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. The appearance of these 3 Emperor-class experts made many veteran factions and top factions who knew about the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden secretly shocked. They thought that Liu Yinshan and Han Tian's deaths would hurt the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. In the end, the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden produced another 3 Emperor-class experts. The Meow family's Beast Creation Garden's foundation was rather deep. However, when the 3 members of the Sea of Bliss went up, the factions and reporters present couldn't help but feel dispirited. The Sea of Bliss members participating in the blood oath duel were simply too weak. The Sea of Bliss elder, Qi Heng, was not present, and so was the family head, Qi Wangyang. Only the young family head, Qi Haitao, brought along 2 new king-class experts. Such a lineup was simply incomparable to the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden's lineup of 3 Emperor-class experts. However, when the Extreme Battle Arena's manager, Gu Han, was confirming the final lineup, the Sea of Bliss member, Qi Haitao, who had a bitter look on his face, requested to be replaced. In the end, no one saw Qi Haitao's replacement walk up the Extreme Battle Arena. Gu Han had a strange expression as she announced the official start of the blood oath duel between the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden and the Sea of Bliss. This caused the noisy scene to immediately fall into a strange silence. This scene was simply too similar to the battle between Sky City and the Zheng family. It was both 2 against 3, and there was a huge disparity in strength between the 2 sides and the 3 sides. The strange silence on the field was soon broken, and many of the audience exclaimed in surprise. Damn, what's going on? Why are there only 2 people left from the Sea of Bliss? I clearly remember that the young man who just went down said that someone was going to replace him. Where's that person? Anyway, I feel that they will die sooner or later. The Sea of Bliss's young family head, Chi Hai Tao, has just gone down. I heard that Chi Hai Tao is quite brave. Since he chose to go up, he won't back down. Also, if there really isn't anyone to replace him, Master Guhan wouldn't just announce the official start of the Blood Oath duel without asking any questions. Is history going to repeat itself? Could it be that Sky City is really helping the Sea of Bliss in the Blood Oath duel? Sky City is domineering. The Beast Creation Garden was so pretentious last time, it's time to teach them a lesson. Miao Jinshan wasn't sure if Sky City would help the Sea of Bliss, so he wanted to understand the situation as soon as possible. Miao Jinshan personally led the team to the scene. Seeing the situation on the Sea of Bliss's side, Miao Jinshan's face suddenly darkened. He cursed in his heart. At this moment, Miao Jinshan immediately released his peak-level Emperor-class aura and used it to sweep across the entire extreme battle arena. As a peak-level Emperor-class expert, Miao Jinshan's unrestrained release of his aura directly affected the audience who came to watch the Blood Oath duel. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1278. In response, Guhan immediately snorted coldly. He also released his aura to warn Miao Jinshan. The reason Miao Jinshan released his aura was to find out if there were any experts from the Blissful Sea tribe present in the arena. After probing for a while, Miao Jinshan was sure that he hadn't detected any abnormalities in the Sea of Bliss. However, Miao Jinshan was not happy. Instead, his heart sank. The last time he had arrived, he had only seen Han Tianhe and Lu Yinshan's corpses, but he had not seen anyone from Sky City who had the strength to kill them. The situation was still the same. A bad thought flashed through Miao Jinshan's mind. Could it be that there was an immortal-level existence in Sky City? If that was the case, the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden would not be able to fight against Sky City. He had schemed against Sky City for so long. So how is he any different from a mouse scheming against a cat? Of course, no matter how heavy his heart was, Miao Jinshan still had to apologize to Guhan immediately. Guhan was backed by the chief guard of the Spirit Guards and His Holiness Iron Prison, so it would not end well for him to offend her. It wasn't just Miao Jinshan and the audience. Even the 3 emperors from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden felt that something was amiss. He immediately summoned his main Fae with a grave expression. The 2 King Stage experts from the Blissful Ocean tribe were prepared to fight to the death. Because the 2 of them had not received any news from Chi Hung and Chi Hai Tao, they were completely kept in the dark. Looking at the 3 summoned creation breed Faes, the 2 King-class experts didn't even have the courage to summon their Faes to resist. Shadow remembered Lin Yuan's instructions and did not attack immediately after the 3 Emperor-class experts from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden summoned their Creation Seed Faes. Instead, he was waiting for the trio to summon their other Faes. Otherwise, Shadow would feel that it had let down Lin Yuan's entrustment if it only brought back 3 Creation Breed Faes corpses and 3 World Crystals. The 3 great Emperor-level experts of the Miao family looked in the direction of the 2 King-level experts of the Blissful Sea tribe suspiciously. They didn't dare to attack first. The 2 King-class experts of the Blissful Sea tribe had completely lost the courage to resist. If it wasn't for the tighter sphincter muscles after becoming an A-rank Spirit Chi professional, the Extreme Arena had already been dirted by the 2 King-class experts of the Blissful Sea tribe. 2 sides. One side was suspicious, and the other side was fearful. This caused the situation in the Extreme Arena to be in a deadlock. The discussions became louder and louder. Finally, the 3 emperors from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden exchanged glances. They each summoned a myth breed Fae and prepared to launch a probing attack on the Blissful Sea tribe's side. As a result, the moment the 3 Emperor-class experts from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden summoned their myth breed Faes, the black figure that had been away from the Extreme Arena for a week flashed again. After 9 flashes, 3 dead Emperor-class experts 3 dead creation breed phase, and 3 dead myth breed phase appeared on the arena's ground. The 3 dead Emperor class experts were cleanly split into 2, just like before. However, the corpses of the 3 dead creation breed phase and myth breed phase were absolutely intact. However, there was a large hole in his back. Previously, Shadow did not know that the phase corpses were useful to Lin Yuan and had rashly split the 2 creation breed phase bodies into 2. This had made Shadow feel guilty for a long time. This time, Shadow intentionally kept the phase corpse intact. After the attack, Shadow entered the corpse's shadow and stored it in the diamond phase storage box. Then, he turned around and prepared to return to the return from faraway mansion to report to Lin Yuan. Shadow's order was to help the Blissful Sea tribe kill the 3 Emperor-class experts and ensure the Blissful Sea tribe's victory in the Blood Oath Extreme battle. Now, Ying had completed her mission perfectly. Even after Ying had left for a long time, the spectator stands of the Polar Arena were still silent. Everyone had already guessed that Sky City would help the Sea of Bliss tribe in the Blood Oath battle against the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. However, the truth was right there, and it was hard for people to react for a while. According to the rules of the Blood Oath Extreme battle, not only did the Beast Creation Garden lose 3 Emperor-level experts, but according to the rules of the Blood Oath Extreme battle, 3 Emperor-level experts had died. The life and death of the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden were in the hands of the Old Paradise Sea clan. Would a top faction like the Beast Creation Garden perish just like that? The reporters started to secretly think about how they should write the report on the Blood Oath Extreme battle when they returned. They came to watch the battle between the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden and the Sea of Bliss tribe. After they came back to their senses, they shared the results of the Blood Oath Extreme battle. The public's opinion exploded in an instant. Sky City's reputation also shot up at the speed of a rocket. At that moment, Lin Yuan, who was standing in the courtyard and staring at the auspicious swallow, suddenly felt the faith light spots in the shrine increase exponentially. Although these new light spots of faith were very weak, they were growing brighter and brighter at an extremely fast speed. In just a few minutes, Lin Yuan felt that the power of faith in his shrine had increased by at least 20%. This was just the beginning of an event that would ferment. Lin Yuan felt that with his identity as the Sky City Lord, the power of faith in the shrine could easily double. Lin Yuan couldn't help but feel exceptionally happy. At the same time, the sudden increase in the power of faith light spots in the shrine let Lin Yuan know that the Blood Oath Extreme battle between the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden and the Paradise Sea clan had officially come to an end. Obscurus should be back in the mansion soon. Sure enough, as soon as this thought appeared in Lin Yuan's mind, Obscurus appeared in front of Lin Yuan. Obscurus handed the diamond face storage box that Lin Yuan had just given it in the morning back to Lin Yuan. Lord Ruler, there are a total of 3 Class 11 life forms and 3 life forms below Class 11 in the diamond face storage box. Please take a look. Lin Yuan looked at Obscurus's expectant expression and could not help but laugh as he took the diamond face storage box. Lin Yuan did not need to look to know that the 3 creation breed and 3 myth breed corpses in the diamond face storage box must be relatively intact. As a demon that lived in the abyss world, Obscurus was cold and cruel. However, it was abnormally young and even a little cute when it came to emotions. Lin Yuan naturally had to satisfy Obscurus's simple expectations. Therefore, Lin Yuan praised Obscurus. Looking at Obscurus's satisfied smile, Lin Yuan realized that dimensional life forms and phase actually had many common characteristics. The biggest characteristic was that phase and dimensional life forms had very pure feelings. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1279. Lin Yuan could not help but think that when the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift opened, the Radiance Federation and the Abyss World would be connected through it. Perhaps abyssal demons could also become Spirit Chi professionals' assistants or be domesticated by Spirit Chi professionals to integrate into the main world's life. After praising Shadow, Lin Yuan carefully checked the Fey corpses in the diamond face storage box. Previously in the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden, These Emperor-class experts phase had been in the process of becoming creation breeds. Lin Yuan had taken away the creation earth veins that had descended after the 7 creation breed phase had survived the creation calamity. At that time, Lin Yuan had 7 grape-sized golden pearls formed from the creation earth veins. Therefore, Lin Yuan was very clear about what the 7 newly promoted Emperor-class experts creation breed phase were. These 7 Emperor-class experts had been pinnacle Emperor-class experts before. Their main phase were carefully selected, and their laws were not bad at all. Therefore, Lin Yuan was indeed envious of the creation breed phase law worlds. After checking the 3 creation breed phase corpses in the diamond phase storage box, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. This was because one of the 3 creation breed phase happened to be the one that Lin Yuan coveted the most. This creation breed fae was called the Prism Turtle. The Prism Turtle's law world was a simulated law world. It could use the simulated law world to imitate other faes in battle and at the same time imitate other faes' abilities and exclusive skills. When facing a stronger fae, the Prism Turtle would still be crushed by the other party, even if it imitated the other party. However, when facing a weaker fae, the Prism Turtle could perfectly show what it meant to be disgusting. I'll transform into your appearance, bully you, and defeat you. Lin Yuan took out the Prism Turtle's World Crystal from the Diamond Face storage box. Within the World Crystal of the Prismatic Tortoise lay a large silver tortoise with a mirror-like shell that could reflect any image. The large tortoise lying in the World Crystal looked ordinary, far less spectacular than the scenes in the World Crystal of the Holy Healing White Deer and the World Crystal of the Oceanic Giant Whale. However, if one looked closely at the World Crystal of the Prism Turtle, one would find that each piece of the Prism Turtle's carapace seemed to be hiding a world. When these back plates were combined, it was as if they were overlapping worlds. The Prism Tortoise perfectly blended into every world, becoming a part of the world that should have existed. Lin Yuan did not know what kind of sword technique would appear after the princess absorbed the simulated law world. But no matter what, this sword skill was destined to be very flexible and ever-changing. As for the other 2 creation breed phase in the Diamond Phase storage box, they were also pretty good. However, it was not as dazzling as the Prismatic Tortoise's simulated law world. The World Crystal of the shadow-bound mysterious snake was filled with flickering shadows. These shadows appeared to be in the state of the dead, howling miserably as they wandered about in the dusky world. The shadow of the dead formed a noose from time to time, trying to bind anything that could be grabbed. A giant serpent with a long gray horn on its head and sharp purplish-gray scales on its body was coiled around a stone pillar at the center of the world. It was like a grayish-purple chain that was tightly bound to the stone pillar. The shadow-binding confusing snake controlled the binding shadow world. Just like Shadow, it could control shadows during battle. However, Shadow's attack direction was like an offensive-type assassin that was adept at covert assassination. The shadow-binding confusing snake, which had comprehended the binding shadow world, was like a mage that commanded shadows to control. By relying on the shadows formed by the dead, it also had a certain spiritual attack ability. Lin Yuan reckoned that if the princess absorbed the binding shadow world crystal, she should be able to add a sword technique with control ability. However, Lin Yuan did not intend to let the princess absorb this binding shadow world crystal so quickly. Unless the princess had no other world crystals to absorb, Lin Yuan would only consider letting her absorb this binding shadow law crystal. Shadow was a derivative of darkness, and this binding shadow world crystal was ultimately a dark element world crystal. The princess's absorption of the binding shadow world crystal gave Lin Yuan dark element resistance. The Dark Death world already provided Lin Yuan with dark element resistance. Compared to specifically increasing dark element resistance, Lin Yuan preferred to develop it in all aspects. As for the third world crystal, it was a scorching sun world crystal produced in the ardent sun dragon centipede's body. The scorching sun dragon centipede was a fae with both fire and light attributes. The scorching sun law world that it grasped was also a world with both fire and light attributes. After the princess absorbed it, she would be able to give him resistance to the fire and light elements. It could be considered as strengthening his second layer of defense. Once the princess finished absorbing the roaring sun world's crystals, it would be much easier for Lin Yuan to fight Zhongzhe. Of course, the easy referred to before Zhongzhe's desolate sky-burning centipede's bloodline was purified. Now, the heaven-burning Ho had upgraded its desolation bloodline and also grasped the top red plum meteorite flame. If he really fought with Zhongzhe, he wasn't sure if the fire elemental resistance provided by the princess would be enough. The ardent sun dragon centipede was a fae that specialized in large-scale magic damage. It was similar to Han Tiena's main fae, the geocentric dragon's nail. After absorbing it, he should be able to obtain an extremely powerful sword technique that dealt mass damage. World crystals weren't that easy to obtain. Once the few world crystals he had on hand were all absorbed, he wouldn't be able to do so. Lin Yuan had to consider how to use the gold bead that he had obtained by absorbing the creation earth vein. It was worth Lin Yuan to think carefully about which kind of law world he should use these creation earth veins to strengthen in Princess Luo Quan. Every part of a myth breed or creation breed fae was a treasure. He planned to give their corpses to the Mother of Bloodbath. He would let the Mother of Bloodbath absorb the blood energy within these myth breed phase and creation breed phase before splitting the spiritual ingredients. Leave behind the parts that are useful to creation masters. He might as well throw the meat to Duan He's main fae, Purple Demon, so that it could grow quickly. According to Lin Yuan's original plan, he would help the Blissful Sea clan settle the Blood Oath Extreme battle with the Miao family in the Beast Creation Garden. He should take Lu Jia, the Mother of Bloodbath, and a few spirit craftsmen through the spatial tunnel to the Divine Wood Federation to continue training. However, the news that Qi Haitao had leaked to Lin Yuan made him dispel his plan to go to the Divine Wood Federation immediately. Compared to going to the Divine Wood Federation, what he needed to do now was to go to the island that the Sea of Bliss had purchased in the distant sea of Raging Wave City. He wanted to check the situation of the large whale fall below the island. Before leaving Sky City's Star Web private territory, the Sea of Bliss Chi Hung had left his phone number. The Blissful Sea Tribe had just won the Blood Oath Duel, and the Blissful Sea Tribe was about to contribute all of their resources to Sky City. Chapter 1280. At this time, Chi Hung must have a lot of things to do. Lin Yuan did not want to wait for Chi Hung to contact him after the time was up, so he simply called Chi Hung. At this moment, Chi Hung was standing in the camp of the Sea of Bliss Tribe in the Polar Arena, enjoying the attention of the audience. Looking at the family head of the Miao family, Miao Jinshan, who was in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, Chi Hung suddenly felt that he was a cut above Miao Jinshan. But this feeling only flashed by. This was because Chi Hung knew that the Blissful Ocean Tribe had not won the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. Sky City had defeated the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. The Blissful Ocean Clan and the Miao family were both failures. The resources of both sides would be swept clean by Sky City. Sky City, who had been hiding behind the scenes, was the biggest winner of this storm. For some reason, he recalled Sky City's City Lord's confidence when he met him in Sky City's Star Web private faction territory. Chi Hung had a feeling that the Lord of Sky City was the mastermind behind all of this. No matter what, after leaving the extreme battle arena, the Qi clan was like a rootless duckweed. Looking at Qi Wangyang's ecstatic and arrogant expression, Chi Hung couldn't hide his disgust. At that moment, Chi Hung's phone rang. Chi Hung picked up his phone and saw that it was an unknown number. At this time, someone called him. Chi Hung had already vaguely guessed who it was. Chi Hung didn't dare to delay and picked up the phone. The clear and pleasant voice of a young man sounded from the other end of the phone. The Blissful Ocean Tribe has already defeated the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden in the Blood Oath Extreme battle. The Sky City has fulfilled its promise. Now, it's the Blissful Ocean Tribe's turn. Hearing this, Chi Hung channeled his spiritual power and formed a cyclone around him. Chi Hung said as he covered his mouth with his sleeve, "Lord, Our Chi family will not return to the blissful Ocean clan's old house after the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. My lord, you can take over the blissful Sea tribe's businesses at any time. If you don't want those spirit Chi professionals working in the blissful Sea tribe, please give me a day's grace. I will dismiss all the workers for you. Lin Yuan nodded silently. Chi Hung had done a good job. Someone will take over the properties of the blissful Sea tribe later. The spirit Chi professionals working in the Paradise Sea race will make their own arrangements. You don't have to worry about it. But you should remember what you said in Sky City's Star Web private faction territory, right? Now, take me to see the large whale fall below the island. Upon hearing that, Chi Heng's expression froze slightly. He knew that Sky City City Lord was calling to verify the authenticity of Chi Haitao's information. If the news was true, then Sky City's promise to the Chi family would remain unchanged. If the news was not true, Sky City would probably seek revenge on the Chi family. However, Chi Hung had nothing to be afraid of, because there was indeed a large whale fall below the island. It was just that any large whale fall would be guarded by powerful sea beasts and sea race experts. Therefore, Chi Hung didn't dare to pay any attention to this huge whale fall even though it was right under the blissful Sea tribe's island. They only dared to use the nutrients from the large whales that were swept to the surface by the ocean currents. Although Chi Haitao didn't say this at that time, Sky City's City Lord should be able to understand. Please give me an hour. After an hour, I'll wait for you at the entrance of the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. I want to solve the Chi family's internal problems during this hour. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan responded and hung up the phone. It would be a relatively long journey to Stormy Wave City. His ethereal jellyfish had never set up node tentacles along the route between the royal capital and Stormy Wave City. He could take advantage of this opportunity in the Journey Forest to set up ethereal jellyfish's tentacles along the route between the royal capital and Stormy Wave City. This would make it very convenient for him to go to Stormy Wave City in the future, when you originally wanted to go on this journey. But she thought of her strength and the matter of Sky City's Star Web private territory. She decided to stay in the mansion obediently. Since it was a long journey, Lu Jie and the mother of Bloodbath began to make preparations. Ji Feng stayed in the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to keep watch. Given his situation, it was not very convenient for him to move around outside, unless he didn't summon his Fae to display his strength. Once Ji Feng's Fae was exposed, people would likely think of the whale ocean trade Sea Sky's young family head who had disappeared for more than a decade. Chi Hung, who hung up the phone, looked at Chi Wangyang, who was ostentatiously waving at the audience, and snorted. Chi Hung pulled Chi Wangyang over and told him about the deal he and Chi Haitao had reached with Sky City City Lord on Starweb. When the insolent Chi Wangyang heard Chi Heng's words, his expression changed drastically and suddenly turned gloomy. Previously, he had seen a black shadow kill the 3 Emperor-class experts who had participated in the Blood Oath Extreme battle in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. While Chi Wangyang was ecstatic, he secretly blamed Chi Hung and Chi Haitao for not even telling him about such a big thing. Chi Wangyang thought that Chi Hung and Chi Haitao must have paid a huge price to move Sky City. However, he didn't expect them to give away the entire Blissful Sea race. What use was 5 million Radiance dollars? He couldn't even buy a few good-quality angelfish of bliss. Was the Lord of Sky City trying to get rid of Beggar? In the end, before Chi Wangyang could shout, Chi Hung summoned a giant bear with blue flames on its body under everyone's gaze. After the giant bear was summoned, it slapped Chi Wangyang's head without any explanation. Chi Hung did not use much strength in this sudden slap, but it completely knocked Chi Wangyang out. At the same time that Chi Wangyang was knocked out, a blue flame entered Chi Wangyang's head. This slap stunned everyone in the Chi family, including Chi Haitao. It also stunned everyone in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, Guhan, the audience, the Starweb internet celebrities, and the Starweb reporters. The Starweb reporters took photos while the Starweb celebrities posted the situation on the Starweb immediately. Only a fool wouldn't go for this kind of thing that came with its own popularity. Qi Heng didn't care about the reactions of the other people present. He used all his strength to prop up the spirit energy shield to envelop everyone in the Qi family. He turned around and looked at Qi Haitao. Haitao, from now on, you are the head of the Qi clan. Your father caused the downfall of the Qi family. The blissful Ocean clan, which had been developing for dozens of years, was handed over to someone else. Now, the Qi family is like a stray dog that needs to find another place to develop. Such a person is not fit to be the head of the Qi clan. My Hellfire Curse Bear has placed a curse in Qi Wangyang's mind. As long as Qi Wangyang's spirit is not stronger than mine, he will not be able to remove the Hellfire Cursed Bear's curse. Chapter 1281. At this point, Qi Heng saw Qi Haitao's conflicted and worried eyes and paused for a moment before continuing. Even if Qi Wangyang wakes up, he can't use his spiritual energy to summon phase. I need to leave for a period of time to go to the distant sea. During this time, you can decide how to deal with your father. If there is anyone in the family who is not satisfied with your management, I will help you settle it when you return. As he spoke, Qi Heng coldly glanced at the surrounding Qi family members. Qi Heng was not only saying these words for Qi Haitao to hear, but also for the other Qi family members to hear. In fact, the rest of the Qi family did not feel that there was anything wrong with Qi Heng's actions. Instead, he felt a sense of joy in his heart. Qi Wangyang's decision meant that the Qi family could only wait for their deaths. Every member of the Qi family who had faced death before hated Qi Wangyang. Therefore, no one in the Qi clan truly regarded Qi Wangyang as the clan master. Now that Qi Haitao was the Qi family's patriarch, Qi Wangyang couldn't summon phase and had become an ordinary person. In everyone's opinion, this was undoubtedly the best choice. The Qi family began to make promises to Qi Heng. Seeing everyone's reaction, Qi Heng turned around and left the extreme arena. While Qi Heng was speaking, the audience, Star Web reporters, and Star Web celebrities all went crazy. Qi Heng's spirit energy barrier prevented his voice from spreading, so no one knew what Qi Heng was saying. However, it was clear that Qi Heng's words had something to do with knocking out the head of the Qi clan, Qi Wangyang. In just a few minutes, many posts about Qi Heng knocking Qi Wangyang out appeared on the Star Web. These posts were all speculating about the reason why Qi Heng knocked out Qi Wangyang. These speculations, without exception, all added to the popularity of this blood oath extreme battle. This made more people pay attention to Sky City because of this blood oath extreme battle. Qi Heng, who was heading to the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, found 3 people standing at the entrance. The masks on the faces of these 3 people clearly indicated their identities. Qi Heng's eyes were fixed on the figure who was wearing a white and blue spirit Qi outfit and a mask with the pattern of the majestic city in the sky on his face. Back when he was in Sky City's Star Web private faction territory, Qi Heng had been thinking about how to get Sky City to agree to help the Blissful Sea Tribe in the Blood Oath Extreme battle against the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. Hence, he did not pay too much attention to the Lord of Sky City. However, the phone call just now made Qi Heng realize that the Lord of Sky City was not very old, because the voice on the phone was very youthful. At that time, Qi Heng had an absurd thought. Could it be that the Lord of Sky City was very young? But how could such a young man support such a powerful and mysterious force? After Qi Heng's careful observation, Qi Heng was certain. The Lord of Sky City would never be older than Qi Haitao. This discovery caused Qi Heng's hair to stand on end. He felt that the Radiance Federation that he had been living in had suddenly become unfamiliar. However, even though Qi Wangyang had thousands of thoughts in his mind, he did not dare to slight the castellan of Sky City at this time. Qi Heng hurriedly greeted Lin Yuan, as well as Lu Jie and the Mother of Bloodbath, who were beside him. Thank you, City Lord, for helping our Qi family win the Blood Oath battle against the Meow family. Thank you again, City Lord. When Lin Yuan heard Qi Heng's words, he revealed an expression that was not a smile. Lin Yuan did not think that Qi Heng was sincerely thanking him. Lin Yuan did not waste his breath with Qi Heng. He took out his cell phone and booked a Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow. When Chi Hung saw Lin Yuan using his cell phone to book a flying fae, his face nearly collapsed. What the hell? Why did Sky City's Castellan have to spend money to rent such a cheap flying fae? Chi Hung felt that it was time for him to perform. City Lord, I have a Diamond V/Fantasy V source type life form, red-necked eagle goose, which is only one step away from becoming a myth breed, and a suzerain 6/myth pinnacle giant winged wombat. The red-necked eagle goose is very comfortable to ride, but it flies slowly. The giant winged wombat flies faster, but it is not very comfortable to ride. However, it is much more comfortable than the platinum divine travel black swallow. City Lord, why don't you choose one of the red-necked eagle goose or the giant winged wombat? The mother of bloodbath sneered. What makes you stand out? Does the red-necked eagle goose fly very fast? I don't think so. Speaking of which, the red-necked eagle goose is delicious. When he heard the mother of bloodbath's words, Chi Hung immediately shivered and did not dare to say more. Chi Hung could feel that the red-haired woman in front of him was a pinnacle myth 2 fae that had taken human form. Based on the red-haired woman's aura, she was definitely an arachnid fae. Among the arachnid faes, there were indeed aviary spiders that fed on avian faes. Chi Hung was really afraid that if he summoned the red-necked eagle goose, it would be eaten by this red-haired woman with a cold aura. Chi Hung did not know whether he should resist or not. If he resisted, not only would he not be able to save the red-necked eagle goose, but he might even be disposed of. After seeing how Sky City had helped the Sea of Bliss win the Blood Oath Extreme battle against the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden, Chi Hung understood a truth. No matter what, he should not go against Sky City. Otherwise, he might very well be the next person to be split in two. While the mother of Bloodbath and Chi Hung were talking, the Divine Travel Black Swallow that he had booked had arrived. Everyone rode on the Divine Travel Black Swallow and flew toward Shocking Wave City. The distance between Shocking Wave City and the Royal Capital was about the same as the distance between the Royal Capital and Indigo Azure City. It was just that Indigo Azure City was in the east of the Royal Capital, while Shocking Wave City was in the west. They were in two completely different directions. Previously, it had taken Lin Yuan more than 7 days to travel from the Royal Capital to Indigo Azure City on the Diamond Divine Travel Black Swallow. Now, it would take at least half a month to fly all the way there on the Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not think of relying on this rented Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow to go to Shocking Wave City. Lin Yuan had just communicated with the Slaughter Sky Butterfly through the purple sky. After leaving the Royal Capital's sphere of influence, Lin Yuan summoned the Slaughter Sky Butterfly. The Slaughter Sky Butterfly would take everyone to Shocking Wave City. As his strength increased, Lin Yuan increasingly understood how precious time was. If possible, Lin Yuan did not want to spend too much time on the road. The Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow flew out of the Royal Capital's city district in over an hour and reached the Royal Capital's outer suburbs. Lin Yuan immediately called everyone down from the Divine Travel Black Swallow and clicked on the complete order on his mobile phone. He let the Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow end its journey with passengers. Then, Lin Yuan waved his hand, and the Slaughter Sky Butterfly was released from the Spirit Lock spatial zone. The moment the mother of Bloodbath saw the Slaughter Sky Butterfly, it frowned and put on a vigilant expression. Chapter 1282. The mother of Bloodbath knew that the killer butterfly had become Lin Yuan's guardian. However, the killer butterfly, which was still a slaughter worm, had indeed almost killed it in endless summer. Therefore, it was difficult for the mother of Bloodbath to let down its guard against the killer butterfly. Lin Yuan also noticed this and was about to say something. At that moment, the killer butterfly took the initiative to walk to the mother of Bloodbath's side and whispered, "Since I transformed into a human form, I have never had the chance to apologize to you in endless summer. Now that we belong to Sky City, I hope we can get along well in the future." Upon hearing the killer butterfly's words, the mother of Bloodbath pursed its lips and said softly, "Okay." After saying that, the mother of Bloodbath did not say anything else. Lu Jie and Lin Yuan, who had been with the Mother of Bloodbath for a long time, noticed that its earlobes had become faintly red. In daily life, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie had discovered that the Mother of Bloodbath had a small problem of being tsundere. It seemed that the Mother of Bloodbath was being tsundere again. However, the Mother of Bloodbath's tsundere reaction also proved that it agreed with the killer butterfly's words. Although the Mother of Bloodbath did not speak much, it was not difficult to understand since it liked to be tsundere. After Lin Yuan summoned the killer butterfly in human form, Qi Heng secretly observed it. The killer butterfly's strength was higher than Qi Heng's, so he could not see through it all. However, based on the killer butterfly's appearance, Qi Heng subconsciously regarded it as a humanoid fae. After all, apart from humanoid faes, few people would dye their hair blue. Even its eyebrows and eyelashes were dyed blue. At the same time, Qi Heng sized up Lin Yuan in shock again. Could it be that this Sky City Lord, who was obviously young, could actually contract a myth-breed fae that could take on a human form? What kind of genius was the Sky City Lord? Not to mention that Qi Haitao, who came from a veteran faction, could not compare. Even those young core members from top factions might not have a humanoid myth-breed fae in their 20s. After greeting Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, and the Mother of Bloodbath, the killer butterfly transformed into its true form. The butchering sky butterfly revealed the pressure of a monarch-class creation breed, fae, after transforming into its true form. After feeling the creation breed fae's pressure emanating from the slaughter sky butterfly, Qi Heng's jaw almost dropped to the ground. Qi Heng swallowed his saliva violently while staring at Lin Yuan for a long time. Qi Heng was already certain that Lin Yuan wasn't a youth. Instead, it was the voice of an old monster who pretended to be a teenager, but his real age was unknown. Otherwise, it was impossible for a young man to possess a creation seed fae. In the end, Qi Heng, who stood on the back of the killer butterfly, was still a little dizzy. Qi Heng had never thought that there would be a day when he would be carried by a creation breed fae. The predator sky butterfly's flying speed was extremely fast. A predator sky butterfly that grasped the power of the world could travel tens of kilometers with a single flap of its wings. After communicating with the slaughter sky butterfly, Lin Yuan knew that he would be able to reach Raging Wave City's range in less than half a day. At this moment, Qi Heng, who had just gotten used to the heaven-slaughtering butterfly's back, gritted his teeth. He was prepared to give Lin Yuan a detailed introduction of the blissful sea tribe's island in the distant sea of Raging Wave City. However, when Qi Heng recalled the true situation of this whale fall, he actually didn't know how to tell Lin Yuan about it. Qi Heng was really afraid that once he revealed the true situation of this whale fall, Lin Yuan would push him off the predator sky butterfly's back. Qi Heng knew that given the predator sky butterfly's speed, it wouldn't take long for them to reach the blissful sea tribe's island in the distant sea of Raging Wave City. He was already on the fire rack, and he had no choice but to say it now. Qi Heng coughed lightly and prepared to lay the groundwork first. Thus, Qi Heng spoke to Lin Yuan. City Lord, in fact, this large-scale whale fall wasn't discovered by our whale ocean trade. Just as Qi Heng finished speaking, he saw Lin Yuan turn his head and look at him with a rather profound gaze. Qi Heng was shocked and hurriedly continued. Not long ago, a few sea tribe experts emerged from the sea, and they proposed a trade with the blissful sea tribe. They said that there's a large-scale whale fall brewing below the island, and they requested that no one on the island go below 500 meters of sea level. While speaking, Qi Heng carefully observed the changes in Lin Yuan's expression. At that moment, Qi Heng saw Lin Yuan nodding slightly. A large whale fall is a gift from a pod of whales to the entire sea. It's not surprising that there are experts from the sea guarding it. But since it's a trade, what benefits did the experts of the sea realm give your blissful sea tribe? Don't forget to spit out. Qi Heng's expression immediately became complicated when he heard this. He spoke rather painfully. City Lord, when we expressed our decision to agree to the request of the oceanic race's powerhouses, those oceanic clans experts gave us a sea source grass. While speaking, Chi Hung took out a deep blue seaweed with spiral-shaped leaves and carefully handed it to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan reached out to take the sea source grass that Chi Wangyang handed over and snorted. Your blissful sea tribe is too dishonest. Why didn't you mention the sea source grass before? That's right. With the sea source grass, it will be much easier for your Sea of Bliss tribe to make a comeback. Lin Yuan did not expect the sea species experts to invest so much for this whale fall. Afraid of causing trouble, they even traded a treasure like the sea source grass to the blissful sea tribe. The sea source grass was a very special fae. It might not have any combat ability, but it was a very special fae. It did not have any combat ability, but if it was planted in a water body, it could rely on its abilities and exclusive skills to transform any water body into a sea. It could allow faes that could only be bred in the sea to be bred in any water body. For factions like the blissful sea tribe that relied on breeding specific aquatic faes, the sea source grass could be considered a foundational resource. When Chi Hung heard Lin Yuan say this in a calm tone, he was already scared out of his wits. Chi Hung hurriedly knelt on the ground and explained, I just mentioned the trade between the oceanic race experts and the blissful sea tribe because I want to give the sea source grass to the City Lord. City Lord saved the lives of everyone in the blissful sea tribe. Why would I hide anything from you? Lin Yuan's face revealed a smile that showed he had seen through everything. You better be. I saw that you were hesitant to say something earlier. If there's really something, why don't you say it now? Otherwise, if I find out that there is something you haven't mentioned before on the island in the Raging Wave City, I will have to reconsider Sky City's attitude toward the Chi family. Chi Hung made up his mind and said, City Lord, the blissful sea tribe bought the island in the Raging Wave City after tearing up the cooperation agreement with the Meow family's beast creation garden. At that time, we were always afraid that the Meow family's beast creation garden would send their top combat power to destroy our development of the island and even assassinate us. Therefore, we spent a lot of money to hire the top faction, the 5 Thearchs mercenary, to protect the island. In fact, the blissful sea tribe was not the only one who traded with the oceanic race experts. The 5 Thearchs mercenary was also there. Chi Heng's voice slowly became softer. City Lord, I don't know if you are aware that the 5 Thearchs mercenary is backed by His Majesty the Eternal Lamp. Perhaps His Holiness has already found out about this large-scale whale fall. Chapter 1283. From Chi Heng's words, it was very likely that His Holiness already knew about this large-scale whale fall. Lin Yuan immediately frowned tightly. Lin Yuan was not surprised that the blissful sea tribe had hired the 5 emperors. When Wenyu was investigating the blissful sea tribe, she had mentioned it before. However, he did not expect the 5 emperors' mercenaries to be stationed on the blissful sea tribe's distant island. He also knew about the large whale fall below the island. If this matter only involved the 5 emperors' mercenaries, which was a top faction, Lin Yuan would not have the slightest fear. Even if the 5 emperors' mercenary group was on good terms with Coiling Dragon Valley, in the face of such a large whale fall, as long as the 5 emperors' mercenary group dared to snatch it, Lin Yuan would not be merciful. However, the relationship between the Radiance Federation's factions was very complicated. Among the 50 top factions, half of them were backed by the 13 Majesties. It was just like how the Brahma Worm Cage was backed by the Moon Empress, the Whale Ocean Trade was backed by Chef Supreme, and the Coiling Dragon Valley was backed by Bamboo Monarch. The top force, the 5 Emperors mercenary group, was backed by the Eternal Lantern of the 13 Majesties. Moreover, the relationship between the 5 Thearchs mercenaries and His Holiness was very different from the Moon Empress and the Brahma Insect Cage, Chef Supreme and the Whale Ocean Trade, and Bamboo Monarch and the Coiling Dragon Valley. The name 5 Emperor Mercenaries came from the fact that there were 5 Emperor-ranked experts in the group. Among the 5 Emperor-level powerhouses of the 5 Emperors mercenary team, 2 of them were once assistants of His Highness, the Eternal Lamp. Later, for some unknown reason, he left the Lantern House where His Holiness, the Everlasting Lantern, was and set up his own house. However, these 2 Emperor-level powerhouses had always been in close contact with His Holiness, the Eternal Lamp. 6 years ago, when His Holiness the Eternal Lamp held the 10,000 Lanterns Temple Festival, the 2 Emperor-level experts of the 5 Emperors mercenary team were not only invited to participate. He was even seated in the VIP section of the 10,000 Lanterns Temple Fair. Therefore, this matter was known by the 5 Thearchs mercenary group. The 5 Thearchs mercenary group didn't want to grasp this great opportunity by themselves. In Lin Yuan's opinion, it was not impossible to tell His Holiness Longevity Lamp about this great opportunity. If that was the case, then this matter would be troublesome. Lin Yuan regretted not rushing to the scene as soon as possible after negotiating with Qi Heng and Qi Haitao in Sky City's Star Web private territory and knowing that there was a large whale below the island. Qi Heng looked at Lin Yuan's tightly pursed lips and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. However, Qi Heng did not regret not telling Lin Yuan the truth back then. This matter involved Her Holiness. Even if Qi Heng had seen the power of the Sky City, he would not be able to do anything about it. He still did not believe that Sky City would dare to compete with a majesty for resources. Qi Heng did not know what he would face next. Just as Qi Heng's imagination was running wild, he saw the youth who had been standing behind Lin Yuan take a step forward and ask, "Do you know when the experts of the Sea Tribe came to the island to negotiate with the blissful Sea Tribe and the 5 Emperors mercenaries?" Hearing this, Qi Heng recalled for a while and hurriedly told the truth. "My lord, it hasn't been long since this happened. In my memory, it should have happened at 7 o'clock last Tuesday night." Upon hearing that, Lu Jie turned to Lin Yuan and said, "That's right. Young master, today is Monday. If it happened at 7 o'clock last Tuesday night, it would be less than 6 days ago. I heard that His Holiness the Eternal Lamp left for the Outer Realm a week ago, so it's impossible for His Holiness the Eternal Lamp to know about this." Qi Heng originally didn't think much of it when Lu Jie calculated the time, but when Lu Jie clearly stated His Holiness's itinerary, Qi Heng could not help but widen his eyes. His Holiness the Eternal Lamp had supreme authority in the Radiance Federation, and his whereabouts were the most secretive. It was impossible for outsiders to know about it. Even the 2 Emperor-class experts and the 5 Emperors mercenaries who were in contact with His Holiness the Eternal Lamp did not know his itinerary. But how did this masked man in front of them know about it? He even heard about it. I also want to hear about this. Why don't I know where to hear about it? At the same time, Qi Heng also keenly noticed that this masked man addressed Lin Yuan as young master instead of city lord. This showed that this masked man was not just a member of Sky City. He was Lin Yuan's servant in the true sense. Such a situation could indirectly show that Sky City's city lord had other more prominent identities. This identity could even let the servants around Sky City's city lord know His Holiness the Eternal Lamp's whereabouts. At this thought, Qi Heng only felt that his imagination was starting to become lacking. Qi Heng really could not imagine what identity in the Radiance Federation could achieve this. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan's brows relaxed a lot. His Holiness did not need to report any of his actions in the Radiance Federation to anyone. However, when His Holiness wanted to go to the Outer Realm, he needed to send a message to the Spirit Guards in advance. The Spirit Guards could not control His Holiness' actions, so His Holiness going down to inform the Spirit Guards was equivalent to a kind of report. Lu Jie was the Spirit Guard's chief guard knight, Leaning Moon's disciple, and had the ability to come into contact with His Holiness' whereabouts. As long as this matter did not involve His Holiness himself. No matter who this matter involved, Lin Yuan would not give in. Lin Yuan was bound to fight for this large-scale whale fall to the end. This was related to whether the floating island whale could hatch as soon as possible so that Lin Yuan could build a real Sky City that floated in the sky as soon as possible. At that moment, Lu Jie continued to speak. "Young master, not only is His Holiness the Eternal Lamp not in the Radiance Federation now, but the 5 Radiance envoys are also not in the Federation. If the 5 Emperor's mercenaries have to report the large-scale whale fall to His Holiness the Eternal Lamp, the most likely is to talk about it to His Holiness' little disciple, and he, who is still in the Radiance Federation." Upon hearing Lu Jie mention and he, Lin Yuan recalled Zhongzai's call to Gu Lang a few days ago. At that time, Gulang and he had a conflict at the class 5-dimensional rift outside Cold Frost City. Based on Gulang's words, Gulang and he were at a disadvantage in the conflict. Gulang had gone to the class 5 swamp dimensional rift to search for dimensional life forms, so it was impossible that he did not have a few experts by his side. However, under such circumstances, Gulang still did not gain an advantage over he. This meant that he must also have experts by his side to protect him. In the face of the experts by he's side, Lin Yuan felt that even if his Void Shadow Fiend was at the immortal level, he might not necessarily be able to gain the upper hand. In the battle for a large-scale whale fall, once his martial strength fell to a disadvantage, he would be abnormally passive. After thinking about it again and again, Lin Yuan communicated with Red Thorn through his spiritual energy. He let Red Thorn use the tongue of Relinquish to control Lu Yinshan, who was guarding in front of the breeding room in the swamp world, and ordered Lu Yinshan to find Bai Yin. If it really did not work, he could only release Bai Yin from the swamp world, as Morbius was unable to detect the true data of an immortal life form. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not investigate Bai Yin. However, according to the Void Shadow Fiend, Bai Yin had reached the pinnacle of Class 12. This meant that Bai Yin was already equivalent to a Class 9 Immortal Fae in terms of dimensional life form grade. Chapter 1285. In the end, Di Wancheng saw that the first 4 words on the 6th line of the book were an idiom. Di Wancheng read it out softly. A high reputation attracts slander. Di Wantian replied, "Second brother, because of third sister, you've become more and more impatient. It's not good to be too anxious. Under normal circumstances, the news of our Whale Ocean Trading Company having 2 undying experts should have attracted the attention of your majesties. The reason why I decided to release this information is because the Sea-Sky bloodline hasn't appeared in the world for too long. When I went to meet Master Chef Supreme, he actually mentioned the Sea and Sky bloodline to me. Spreading the news of having 2 undying experts could divert everyone's attention from Ocean Sky bloodline to Whale Ocean Trade itself. On the other hand, it will also be convenient for us to recruit creation masters in a high-profile manner. I asked how to participate in the Radiance Hunter sequence and spread the news that he would compete for the Radiance Envoy position. This is to give everyone a reassurance. In addition, the Radiance 100 sequence selection is imminent. The Azure Federation will send envoys to observe the ceremony. At a time like this, His Majesty won't have the time to focus on the Whale Ocean Trade. Now, the Blood Oath battle between the Sea of Bliss and the Meow family has become the core of the Radiant Sect's public opinion. As long as we participate in it, we will become a member of the public opinion. In that case, His Holiness Ironhell, who is in charge of identifying the attributes of a faction, will immediately look at the Whale Ocean Trade and immediately begin to inspect it. Our Whale Ocean Trade cannot afford such an outcome. Before Third Sister succeeds, if what we've done is exposed, the sin-cleansing pond will be our final destination." Di Wanqing understood what Di Wantian meant. He also understood what Di Wantian meant when he told him to look at the phrase "fame attracts slander." Indeed, the current status of the Whale Ocean Trade was simply too high. The slightest movement would attract attention from all directions. It seemed like the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden had delivered itself to their doorstep. Even if Whale Ocean Trade wanted to grab it, they couldn't. Di Wancheng sighed and said, "Big brother, I'm going to answer Miao Zhishan's call and then go see Third Sister." After that, Di Wanqing stepped out of the room. Di Wantian picked up the book that he had not finished reading and continued to read. Di Wantian frowned slightly when he read the last line. Caught in a cocoon of one's own making, he was no longer in the mood to continue watching. In fact, there was a more important reason why Di Wantian and Di Wanqing spoke so much. The Meow family's Beast Creation Garden had a close relationship with a Moon Empress disciple. Otherwise, the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden wouldn't have 7 more Emperor-level beings. According to the Whale Ocean Trading Company's investigation of the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden, the 7 Emperor-class Spirit Chi professionals had only been peak-tier Emperor-class experts previously. It seemed like it would no longer be a safe choice to target the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden's creation masters. If it attracted the attention of the Moon Empress disciple, then the whale ocean trade might give the game away and fall short of success. At this moment, Diwan Tian suddenly thought of the Sky City that was currently in the limelight. It was said that Sky City was on par with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden in terms of Creation Master resources. In addition, the Sky Castle was quite mysterious, and the outside world knew very little about it. In such a situation, if Sky City's Creation Master were to be lost, it probably wouldn't cause too much of a commotion in the outside world. Diwan Tian decided to investigate Sky City first. Then, he would look for an opportunity to come into contact with the Lord of Sky City. With that thought in mind, Diwan Tian's eyes flashed sharply. Miao Jinshan, who was in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, did not wait long before he received Di Wanqing's reply. It could be said that Di Wanqing's reply made Miao Jinshan extremely disappointed. Miao Jinshan only had two options. One was the whale ocean trading relationship, and the other was the Moon Empress disciple relationship. Since the whale ocean trade wasn't going to work, there was only one way to go. Miao Jinshan looked at Miao Zhua and said, "Zhua, go and contact Lin Yuan. Agree to whatever request he has." Miao Zhua hurriedly replied, "Grandpa, I'll do it right away." Miao he said hurriedly, "Grandpa, I can also contact Lord Lin Yuan. Lord Lin Yuan and I." Miao Jinshan interrupted before Miao he could finish his words. Go and call everyone in the clan to the conference room. Leave the matter of contacting Lin Yuan to your brother." Miao he could only respond embarrassedly and reluctantly turned around to inform the rest of the clan. Miao Zhua, who had just walked to the door, naturally heard Miao Jinshan's words. Miao Zhua knew that he had a huge lead in the confrontation with Miao He. Even if he could not become a Class 4 Creation Master, his grandfather still thought highly of him. Lin Yuan was currently instructing Red Thorn to help organize the Wind-type Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. When he heard his phone ring, he revealed a smile as he had expected. Lin Yuan looked at his phone and realized that it was indeed a call from the Miao family. The person calling him was Miao Zhua and not Miao He, which meant that Miao Zhua's position in Miao Jinshan's heart was higher than Miao He's. After picking up the phone, Lin Yuan heard Miao Zhua anxiously talking about the current situation in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. As the initiator, Lin Yuan was naturally very clear about the situation in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. However, Lin Yuan did not interrupt Miao Zhua. Instead, he pretended to be completely ignorant and listened carefully. After listening to Miao Zhua for a long time, Lin Yuan was sure that Miao Zhua was really trying to curry favor with him. He basically told him the current situation in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden without hiding anything. "I have some urgent matters to attend to these few days. I don't have much time." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Miao Zhua's heart suddenly sank, and fine beads of sweat seeped out of his forehead. If Lin Yuan did not help, the Miao family would really be at a dead end. Miao Zhua's throat tightened, and he did not know what to say. Lin Yuan continued, "This matter is not difficult to resolve. It's not difficult to solve this problem. I'll help you solve it after I'm done with my work." After speaking, Lin Yuan hung up the phone. Chi Hung had been eavesdropping from the start of Lin Yuan's call. In the end, Chi Hung did not hear any useful information from Lin Yuan's words. Chi Hung would never have thought that the youth in front of him was not only the savior of the Sea of Bliss. He was also the savior of the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. When Miao Zhua heard the busy tone on the other end of the phone, he was relieved. Since Lin Yuan had given his guarantee, he would definitely be able to resolve it. The Miao family's Beast Creation Garden could also be preserved. However, Lin Yuan had said that he would help the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden after he was done with his work. If this matter was dragged on, the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden would probably become a street rat. Chapter 1286. For a moment, Miao Zhua didn't know whether this call was good news or bad news. But no matter what, he had to report this matter to his grandfather, Miao Jinshan, immediately. Lin Yuan could have helped the Miao family solve the problem in the Beast Creation Garden. If Lin Yuan wanted to solve this problem, he just needed to say a word. After all, the Sky City Lord, and the Moon Empress disciple were both Lin Yuan alone. However, Lin Yuan had deliberately delayed this matter in order to have time for public opinion to continue fermenting. As a result, more and more people came to know about this matter in the Sky City. Only in this way could he harvest the power of faith to the greatest extent. When the matter reached its peak, he would use his identity as the Moon Empress disciple to join the Miao family's beast creation garden. It could also add fuel to the fire of public opinion and trigger even more public opinion. He would be able to use two identities to harvest the power of faith. At the same time, he made use of the rivalry between Sky City's City Lord and the Moon Empress disciple to attract more attention. He also directed the supporters of both sides to go against each other on StarWeb. Thus, through the conflict of public opinion, the faith of these supporters would be consolidated, and the faith of these supporters would become firmer, killing two birds with one stone. As for the damage to the Miao family's beast creation garden's reputation, it was not within his consideration. At this time, the killer butterfly had already flown for half a day. Lin Yuan could faintly see a majestic giant city on the slaughter sky butterfly's back, and it became clear in front of his eyes. This huge city was the raging wave city that Lin Yuan had never been to before. Although Stormy Wave City and Indigo Azure City were both coastal cities, the overall feeling they gave off was completely different. Looking down at Indigo Azure City, one could feel the romance of coastal life. Compared to the romantic and leisurely atmosphere of Indigo Azure City, Stormy Wave City looked much more prosperous. A large stretch of shallow sea was distributed outside Indigo Azure City, which made it only needed to defend against dimensional rifts that could open at any time. There was no need to consider the threat of large sea beasts to the city. This was because large sea beasts would run aground in shallow waters. If they ran aground for too long, their lives would be in danger. Outside of Stormy Wave City, there weren't many shallow seas as buffers. The edge of the city was all waters up to 1,500 meters deep. Due to the depth of the water, large sea beasts often passed by the edge of Stormy Wave City. However, it was precisely because of Stormy Wave City's geographical environment that allowed Stormy Wave City to produce a large number of rare deep-sea resources. At the same time, the deep water areas at the edge of the city were suitable for building deep water docks. The deep water pier improved the trade convenience of Shocking Wave City and greatly promoted its economic prosperity. Raging Wave City was one of the Radiance Federation's 9 major cities that faced the sea, and it was often crowned with the title of #1 city by the sea. In order to defend against the attacks of the sea beasts, the Stormy Wave City Lord had invested a large amount of money into the city's fortifications. Among all the coastal cities in the Radiance Federation, only the Raging Wave City's outer wall was 800 meters tall. Standing on the city walls of Stormy Wave City and looking down, any movement on the surface of the sea could be clearly seen. The 800-meter-tall city wall was 20 meters thick, and it was embedded with a large amount of hard metal spirit materials. Even if there was a large tsunami, as long as the sea level did not rise by 800 meters, it would still be safe. It was basically impossible for the seawater to break through the city walls and flood into Stormy Wave City. At that moment, the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's voice sounded in Lin Yuan's ears. "City Lord, we are now flying directly towards the distant islands. Or should I stay in Stormy Wave City for a while?" When Lin Yuan heard the Slaughter Sky Butterfly's question, he pondered. Under normal circumstances, when forces exchange territories, if the territory belonged to the jurisdiction of a large city, then the territory would be under the control of a large city. In that case, they would have to report to the city before exchanging territories. In other words, if Lin Yuan wanted to take over the Sea of Bliss's distant islands, he would need to let Stormy Wave City know in advance before the transaction could be considered successful. On the way here, Lin Yuan had learned from Qi Heng that this large-scale whale fall had just begun. It would take another 2 to 3 days to form an island whale embryo through the essence of a large whale fall. During this process, the Oceanids would definitely pledge their lives to protect the whale fall. Right now, The entire stormy wave city was calm and tranquil, which was enough to show that no one had gone to disturb this large-scale whale fall. Since it would take another 2 to 3 days for the island whale embryo to be condensed, going to the island now would just be a waste of time. Therefore, it was better to take advantage of these 2 days in Stormy Wave City to complete the transaction between Sky City and the Blissful Sea Tribe's remote island. Because the large whale landed right below the island, it was counted as part of the island. After the completion of the transaction, Sky City would firmly rule over any conflict that occurred during this massive whale fall. No matter which party wanted to take control of this massive whale fall, it would be equivalent to snatching something from the hands of the Sky Castle. After making the decision, Lin Yuan said to the Slaughter Sky Butterfly, "You're right. Heaven Slaughter or Butterfly, let's go to Stormwave City first." After saying that, Lin Yuan's gaze turned to Chi Hung. Chi Hung, as a veteran faction, the Blissful Sea Tribe has been developing in Stormwave City for so long. They can be considered the local tyrant of Stormwave City. I'm sure you're familiar with the Stormwave Guard Captain. The Blissful Sea Tribe just won the Blood Oath Extreme Duel with the Meow family in the Beast Creation Garden and is in the limelight. If you ask the Stormwave Guard Captain out at this time, I'm sure he won't refuse. We'll immediately transfer the Blissful Sea Tribe's remote island to Sky City. Upon hearing that, Chi Hung nodded with a face full of agreement. Okay, City Lord, I'm old friends with the Stormwave Guard Captain. As long as he's not busy, I can ask him out with a phone call. Chi Hung's face full of agreement was not an act. Instead, Chi Hung sincerely hoped to be able to transfer the Blissful Sea Tribe's remote island to Sky City as soon as possible. Lin Yuan's request for the transfer as soon as possible showed that Sky City was determined to win this massive whale fall. As long as His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple, Anha, also had his eyes on this massive whale fall, the two sides were bound to fight it out. Secondly, if the transfer was not completed now, when Sky City's City Lord and Anha fought, Anha would make him choose another side. Then he would be completely turned into wax. By then, no matter which side he chose, he would completely offend the other side. He might as well hand everything over to Lin Yuan so that he would not be forced to make a choice under pressure. At that moment, Lu Jie moved closer to Lin Yuan and said softly, "Young master, we'll split up later. I'll go make some arrangements in advance. Otherwise, if a conflict really breaks out and the Sea Tribe's experts go crazy, the safety of Stormwave City might be threatened." Lin Yuan nodded, knowing that Lu Jie wanted to go to the Spirit Guard's branch in Stormwave City. The active period of the Dimensional Rift had just ended, and the guard envoys stationed in the various major cities had yet to return to the royal capital's Spirit Guard's headquarters. This was the time when the various major cities' Spirit Guard's branches were at their strongest. Chapter 1287. Lu Jie arranged for Guard Envoy C to lead the Spirit Guards to set up fortifications so that they could deal with the turbulence that would arise when they fought over the large whale fall on the distant island. Ever since it had gotten on the slaughtering Sky Butterfly's back, the Mother of Bloodbath had been absorbing the blood energy of the creation breed phase in the diamond face storage box, the prismatic tortoise, the ardent sun dragon centipede, and the shadow-bound lost snake. The moment the slaughter Sky Butterfly landed on the ground, the Mother of Bloodbath opened its eyes and spoke with unconcealable excitement. "The blood energy in my body has reached its limit. I can't absorb any more blood energy. Otherwise, I might break through to Myth 3 at any moment." Lin Yuan's face lit up when he heard the Mother of Bloodbath's words. "Just bear with it for now. After I'm done with this, I'll find a good place for you to break through." The Mother of Bloodbath's breakthrough to Myth 3 was a major event for him. Not only was it related to whether the Mother of Bloodbath could awaken as a favored spirit, but it was also related to its safety. If the awakening failed, the Mother of Bloodbath's Marquise Jade Spider bloodline would be activated. The Mother of Bloodbath was likely to explode under the impact of the Sky Corona Jade Spider bloodline. He had to be very careful about the Mother of Bloodbath's evolution. After landing on the ground, the killer butterfly did not return to the swamp world. Instead, he was arranged to follow Lu Jie to the Spirit Guard's branch. On one hand, it was to protect Lu Jie. On the other hand, if there was something inconvenient for him to do by himself, he could ask the killer butterfly to do it for him. Chi Hung had already called the captain of the Stormy Wave Guard. The Blissful Ocean clan was a local power of the Stormy Wave City. The Stormy Wave City was very concerned about the blood oath battle between the Blissful Ocean clan and the Miao clan. This was because it was related to the distribution of a large portion of Stormy Wave City's resources. Therefore, Chi Hung invited the Stormy Wave Guard captain, and the Stormy Wave Guard captain immediately agreed to Chi Hung's request. However, the dimensional active period had just ended, and the Stormy Wave Guard captain had too many things to do. The Storm Wave Guard captain asked Chi Hung to go to his office for a meeting. Chi Hung led the way while Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath followed behind. While observing the scenery of Stormy Wave City, he listened to Chi Hung explain the situation of Stormy Wave City. Through his dealings with the Indigo Azure Guard captain and Ascending Dragon City Lord, he had personally experienced the benefits of cooperating with a large city. Stormy Wave City was known as the first coastal city and undoubtedly had more resources than Indigo Azure City. In order to improve the fortifications of Stormy Wave City and resist the attacks of the sea beasts, Stormy Wave City had to be fortified. Every year, a large amount of resources would be spent on the Stormy Wave Guard. A large portion of the resources that the Raging Wave City allocated to the Stormy Wave Guard were used to hire Creation Masters. Although the Radiance Federation's Creation Master resources were much more abundant than the other small federations, the Creation Master resources of the Radiance Federation were much more abundant. Only the Freedom Federation and the Azure Federation, which are also part of the three great federations, could be mentioned in the same breath. However, having abundant Creation Masters did not mean that the Radiance Federation would not have a shortage of Creation Masters. The Radiance Federation had a huge population, but there were only a few Creation Masters. Most of the Creation Masters were employed by the major factions. The Creation Masters that were hired by the major factions would normally only work for the faction they were hired by. This caused the already scarce Creation Master resources to shrink again. The various major cities had always been competing with each other for development. Therefore, they would do their best to compete for the available Creation Master resources in the market. Lin Yuan wanted to see if he could cooperate with the Stormy Wave Guard captain when he met him in a while. He gave the Stormy Wave Guard captain the Creation Master resources that he lacked, and then obtained some of the resources he needed. It was a win-win situation. In a short while, Chi Hung brought Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath to the Stormy Wave City Lord Mansion. The office of the Stormy Wave Guard captain was in the side pavilion of the City Lord's mansion. Before reaching the side pavilion's entrance, Lin Yuan saw a tall and thin middle-aged man striding out of the side pavilion. He laughed heartily with a face brimming with enthusiasm. Chi Hung, congratulations to your Blissful Sea clan for winning the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. I wonder if Brother Chi Hung has any plans to move the resources from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to Shocking Wave City. Chi Hung was thinking about the scene of the city in the sky, fighting with Anha, the disciple of His Holiness the Eternal Lamp. However, when he heard the words of the tall and thin man in front of him, Chi Hung's expression immediately collapsed. He was really touching my sore spot. I want to move the resources from the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to Shocking Wave City. That depends on whether the City Lord of Sky City next to me agrees or not. The Blissful Sea clan belongs to Sky City now. Perhaps Sky City will soon withdraw the Blissful Sea clan's resources from Shocking Wave City. While talking to Chi Hung, the tall and thin middle-aged man sized up Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath behind Chi Hung. Seeing the masks on Lin Yuan's and the Mother of Bloodbath's faces, the tall and thin middle-aged man's eyes lit up. While the tall and thin middle-aged man was sizing up Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan was also sizing up the tall and thin man in front of him. This tall and thin man must be the Stormy Wave Guard captain. Through the conversation between the Stormy Wave Guard captain and Chi Hung, Lin Yuan knew that the Stormy Wave Guard captain very much wanted Chi Hung to move the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's resources to Shocking Wave City. A large number of new resources pouring into Shocking Wave City could greatly drive the development of Shocking Wave City. However, The stormy Waveguard captain's hopes were completely dashed. Chi Hung silently criticized the stormy Waveguard captain in his heart while preparing to introduce Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath to the stormy Waveguard captain. In the end, Chi Hung found that the stormy Waveguard captain had already walked past him and enthusiastically toward Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath. "You two must be from Sky City, right? When I was on the phone with Feng Dong, I heard him mention Sky City." While speaking, the stormy Waveguard captain extended his hand toward Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan saw the stormy Waveguard captain take the initiative to greet him so enthusiastically, he knew that the stormy Waveguard captain had the intention to take the initiative to befriend him. However, Lin Yuan had no impression of Feng Dong, whom the stormy Waveguard captain had mentioned. When the stormy Waveguard captain saw Lin Yuan hold his outstretched hand, he did not speak. He immediately realized that the person in front of him might not know who Feng Dong was and hurriedly explained. "Feng Dong is the Indigo Azure Guard captain. I heard from him that the Indigo Azure Guard and Sky City have been cooperating in the cultivation of phase." Upon hearing the stormy Waveguard captain's explanation, Lin Yuan replied with a smile, "That's right. That's right. Our Sky City and Indigo Azure City have been cooperating in the cultivation of phase. Actually, it's not just Indigo Azure City. Our Sky City and Ascending Dragon City are also cooperating in the cultivation of phase. Compared to cooperating with other factions, our Sky City is more willing to cooperate with the major cities. This is also considered contributing a little to the city's defense." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Wang Su's eyes suddenly narrowed. Chapter 1288. Ever since the Raging Wave City Lord had thrown the Raging Wave Guard's construction work to Wang Su 3 years ago, Wang Su had been worrying about the resources for Creation Masters. Wang Su had been going to the Creation Master Association to issue missions and had recruited some Class 2 and Class 3 Creation Masters. However, over a dozen Class 2 Creation Masters and 2 or 3 Class 3 Creation Masters could not solve the problem. He could occasionally recruit a Class 4 Creation Master, but the high price offered by the Class 4 Creation Master was unacceptable to Wang Su. If the Raging Wave Guard wanted to distribute resources, it had to be fair. During the active phase of the Dimensional Rift, every Raging Wave Guard put their lives on the line and used their lives to protect Raging Wave City. Every Raging Wave Guard was a hero, and there was no difference in merits. If the Class 4 Creation Master's price was too high, even if Wang Su could exchange for Bronze/Flawless or Bronze/Epic phase for the Class 4 Creation Master. If he could not benefit every member of the Raging Wave Guard with Bronze/Flawless phase, then these phase would lose their meaning. If the resources were biased, it would cause the unity of the people to fall apart. This was a big taboo when leading a group. Wang Su had also tried to find top factions or veteran factions like the Coiling Dragon Valley and the Beast Creation Garden that used Creation Master resources as a function. However, it was still the issue of the price that stumped Wang Su. Not long ago, during the call with Indigo Azure Guard Captain Feng Dong had gotten carried away and spilled the beans. Wang Su now knew why the Indigo Azure Guard could produce over 100 Bronze/Epic Hot Spring Snails at the end of the active phase of the Dimensional Rift. After Wang Su took out Feng Dong's dark history and threatened to post it on StarWeb, Feng Dong's expression changed drastically. Wang Su had then learned about the trade between Indigo Azure City and Sky City from Feng Dong. It seemed that Sky City only needed Law Origin crystals to nurture Bronze/Epic phase, not Radiance dollars or other rare resources. That was right. If Raging Wave City could not afford the resources, Indigo Azure City, whose economy was far behind Raging Wave City, could not possibly afford it. Therefore, as the captain of the Raging Wave Guard, Wang Su had been so friendly with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had guessed Wang Su's thoughts. This was why Lin Yuan had told Wang so that apart from Indigo Azure City, Sky City was also cooperating with Ascending Dragon City. Lin Yuan's words were expressing his attitude. He told Wang so that if Stormy Wave City was willing, they could cooperate with Sky City like Indigo Azure City and Ascending Dragon City. Wang Su naturally understood the meaning behind Lin Yuan's words. Wang Su waved his hand in the direction he came from and said, "Honored guest, why don't you go into the house and try a cup of our Stormy Wave City's unique sea grain tea?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied with a smile, "I've long heard that the Sea Valley tea tree grows at the bottom of the raging wave strait in Stormy Wave City. I haven't had the chance to taste it before. Looks like I can finally enjoy it today." The mother of Bloodbath stood beside Lin Yuan like a door guardian. Wherever Lin Yuan went, the mother of Bloodbath followed. The mother of Bloodbath did not like to socialize and did not speak throughout. However, as a foodie, the mother of Bloodbath was still looking forward to Stormy Wave City's specialty, the sea grain tea. At this time, Chi Hung, who was left to the side, turned green. He was clearly the middleman, and he was the one who made the call to arrange this meeting. Why did he become a spectator in the end? Apart from saying a sentence at the beginning, Lin Yuan did not give him a chance to speak afterward. In fact, when Wang Su saw Lin Yuan confirm Lin Yuan's identity, he roughly understood Qi Heng's purpose of taking the initiative to invite him. He might be the Stormy Wave City Guard captain, and Qi Heng was a core member of the older generation of the Sea of Bliss native faction. Wang Su would always be able to meet Qi Heng at some large events in Stormy Wave City. Both of them had helped each other with some small matters, so they had some friendship. However, this friendship was definitely not deep enough to the extent that Qi Heng would immediately look for him to share his joy after the Sea of Bliss won the Blood Oath Extreme Duel. Sky City had helped the Sea of Bliss win the Blood Oath Extreme Duel against the top faction, Beast Creation Garden, and the Sea of Bliss had to pay a huge price. Perhaps the entire Blissful Sea tribe had already belonged to Sky City. On one hand, Wang Su wanted to talk about cooperation with Lin Yuan, and on the other hand, he wanted to find out what Lin Yuan said during the discussion. He wanted to see if Lin Yuan had plans to withdraw the Sea of Bliss's resources from Stormy Wave City. If that was the case, then Stormy Wave City's economy and prosperity would be severely affected. Due to the composition of the Sea of Bliss's resources, even if they were to move, they would definitely move to another coastal city. Although Stormy Wave City was now known as the #1 coastal city. But coastal cities like Extreme Ocean City and Towering Wave City had the power to compete with Stormy Wave City. If the Sea of Bliss's resources were moved to Extreme Ocean City and Towering Wave City, the title of Stormy Wave City as the #1 coastal city would change hands. This was definitely not what Wang Su wanted to see. Just as Qi Heng followed behind the mother of Bloodbath and was about to enter the house, the mother of Bloodbath turned around and stopped Qi Heng outside the house. The mother of Bloodbath pointed to the training ground not far from the side hall, where some Stormy Waves guard were practicing. "Stand over there. When the city lord is done talking, I will call you. Don't run around and don't call to leak information. I will watch you." The mother of Bloodbath waved its hand. A fingernail-sized red crystal spider landed on Qi Heng's head without any hesitation. Qi Heng was trembling with anger, but he was helpless. As a pinnacle Emperor-class expert, Qi Heng was much stronger than the mother of Bloodbath. However, Qi Heng had to obey the mother of Bloodbath's words. He did not even dare to take off the red crystal spider that was used to monitor him and place it on his clothes. However, when he thought of the upcoming conflict between Sky City and he, Qi Heng's anger dissipated by half. Wang Su warmly invited Lin Yuan and the mother of Bloodbath to their seats. Wang Su took out 2 cups carved from winter shell essence and poured 2 cups of freshly brewed sea grain tea. He handed them to Lin Yuan and the mother of Bloodbath while speaking. The best tool to drink sea grain tea is the winter shell cup. The winter shell cup can quickly cool down the sea grain tea, forming an extremely cool taste but not letting the tea freeze. Sea grain tea will have a faint fishy smell when drunk hot, but when drunk cold, it will have the fragrance and freshness of seaweed. After drinking it, it will be easy to cool down, and the coolness will have a faint sweet aftertaste. Quickly try it. The mother of Bloodbath took a tentative sip of the sea grain tea. After drinking the tea, the mother of Bloodbath's eyes lit up. The mother of Bloodbath liked the taste of the sea grain tea very much. The mother of Bloodbath hurriedly continued to raise the cup and drink mouthful after mouthful. After Lin Yuan drank the sea grain tea, he felt that it tasted good. However, the freshness of the sea grain tea gave him the illusion that he was drinking seaweed soup. Chapter 1290. He intended to try and see if he could use the spirit lock spatial zone to nurture an environment suitable for the abyss world. It did not need anyone to take care of it, but it could change the environment of the abyss world on a large scale. Seeing that Wang Su had yet to return, Lin Yuan lowered his head and observed the steel spike iron clam that the stormy wave guards had chosen as their standard fey. As a defense-type fey, the steel spike iron clam had been chosen by the stormy wave guard, and it definitely had advantages that other defense-type feys couldn't compare to. He used Morbius True Data to examine the steel spike iron clam. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the steel spike iron clam was very suitable for her current fey system. The steel spike muscle's normal skill, Iron Thorn Cross Shield, had a similar effect to the yellow scarlet golden butterfly's exclusive skill, Tremor Counterattack. However, when the yellow fey golden butterfly shield was attacked, it would reduce the damage received, regardless of whether it was a magic attack or a physical attack. A portion of the damage would be reflected back through tremors. On the other hand, the Iron Spike muscle skill, Iron Spike Cross Shield, would shoot out a large number of iron spikes after receiving damage. When the iron thorns hit an allied target, the target would receive a bloodthirsty excitement effect. Upon contact with an enemy target, the iron thorns would sharpen and deal physical damage to the enemy target. This was equivalent to the Iron Spike muscle casting the Iron Spike Cross Shield on a target. When the target was attacked, it would cause an indiscriminate AoE attack. Moreover, when the attack landed on an ally, it would provide a buff to that ally. Just the Iron Thorn Cross Shield alone was enough for the Steel Spike Iron Clam to join Chu Si's Fey lineup. While Chu Si's defensive capabilities were being enriched, she would also be able to take the path of damage reflection to the end. With the Steel Spike Iron Muscle, Lin Yuan felt that his Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan could start at 4 p.m. With such a huge transaction with the Stormy Wave Guard, Wang Su probably wouldn't reject Wang Su's request for a Bronze Steel Spike Iron Clam with an excellent exclusive skill. Just as Lin Yuan was thinking about this, Wang Su returned with a gold face storage box. There are 200 Steel Spike Iron Muscles here, and only 100 of them are bronze ranked. The other 100 are only at the normal and elite tier. Speaking of this, Wang Su smiled without any pretense before continuing. The creation masters that serve the Storm Wave Guard have spent all their energy on increasing the Fey's grade and quality. In addition, the Storm Wave Guard will inevitably encounter danger during missions. Feys with damaged roots will also require a lot of creation master resources to maintain. Speaking of which, there are only 100 bronze steel spike iron muscles selected and cultivated by the entire Stormy Wave Guards. However, these 100 steel spike iron muscles are our trump cards. All of them have exclusive skills that are very suitable for outdoor combat. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan took the face storage box from Wang Su and checked the steel spike iron muscle inside. After checking, he found that these steel spike iron muscles' exclusive skills were indeed very outstanding. Combined with the iron spike muscle's normal skill, Iron Spike Cross Shield, it could effectively defend and counterattack. Even if the clam couldn't defend effectively in battle, it could still trade damage for damage. While exchanging injuries for injuries, he could also effectively motivate his teammates. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly discovered a pinkish-purple steel spike iron muscle among the many purplish-black steel spike iron muscles. This pinkish-purple steel spike iron muscle was especially eye-catching among the many purplish-black steel spike iron muscles. Furthermore, this pinkish-purple steel spike iron muscle wasn't a complete pinkish-purple mix, but a pinkish-purple gradient. From the outside to the inside, the color was constantly lightening, and it was abnormally dreamy. If the purplish-black steel spike iron muscle looked like a fat Annie wearing coarse linen clothes, this pinkish-purple steel spike iron muscle looked like a little princess wearing a lowly puffy skirt. Lin Yuan immediately flipped his hand and took out this pinkish-purple steel spike iron muscle. He then used Morbius ability, True Data, to check on this obviously mutated pinkish-purple steel spike iron muscle. Fey name, Pink Crystal Muscle, Fey species, Jasini/Steel Armor, Fey grade, Bronze 4/10, Fey type, Water/Spiritual, Fey quality, elite abilities Frowny Face, Iron Thorn Cross Shield. When applying a shield on a target, when the shield is attacked, it will shoot out a large number of iron thorns. When the iron thorns touch an ally target, it will release the bloodthirsty excitement effect. When touching an enemy target, it will cause the target to feel love and reduce their desire to fight. Foam Crystal Shield quickly spits out foam from the tightly closed shell. The foam can form a temporary shield on the surface of multiple targets that can barely resist damage, or form multiple temporary shields on the surface of a single target that will gradually decrease in defense. Unique Special Item Transformation. Transform oneself into a type of artifact for the contestant to use. After seeing the Pink Crystal Muscle's true data, Lin Yuan got excited. It could be said that Chu Si's name was engraved on this Pink Crystal Muscle. As compared to the Steel Spike Iron Muscle, the Pink Crystal Muscle's normal ability, Iron Thorn Cross Shield, had a certain change. When releasing the spikes to counterattack a local target, the Steel Spike Iron Muscle would deal a large-scale physical AoE damage to the enemy target. This ability was very useful in low-grade battles, but when it came to high-grade battles, the AoE damage from such a counterattack wouldn't be that great. Some Feys that were good at defense could easily withstand it. However, the Pink Crystal Muscle's Iron Thorn Cross Shield turned the original AoE physical damage into an AoE charm ability, reducing the target's will to fight. As Lin Yuan's strength grew, he increasingly understood the importance of will to fight in a battle. The side with a high will to fight could often create miracles of defeating the strong. It wasn't just the Iron Thorn Cross Shield that made Lin Yuan feel that the Pink Crystal Muscle was suitable for Chu Si. The Pink Crystal Muscle's elite ability, Foam Crystal Shield, was simply tailor-made for Chu Si's combat system. Chu Si's Burning Sunflower Gemini and Obsidian Iron Wild Bull weren't defensive Feys in the traditional sense. Among Chu Si's Feys, only the Yellow Scarlet Golden Butterfly could apply a defensive shield. Moreover, the Yellow Scarlet Golden Butterfly's shield was a single-target shield. The Pink Crystal Muscle's Foam Crystal Shield increased Chu Si's overall shield ability. It allowed Chu Si to no longer be good at single-target combat. Instead, she could play the role of a defense-type Spirit Chi professional in a team. The AoE ability, Foam Crystal Shield, combined with the Yellow Scarlet Golden Butterfly's exclusive skill, Explosive Shield Counterattack, was a very powerful killing tool. Not only could the Foam Crystal Shield be used on multiple targets, but it could also stack these temporary shields on a single person. Chapter 1291. If multiple layers of Foam Crystal Shields could be stacked on a target, then when the exclusive Skill Shield Explosion counterattack was used, the shield would explode. Even though the Foam Crystal Shield's defensive ability wasn't strong, and it weakened with each layer. However, when the damage that several layers of Foam Crystal Shield could withstand was condensed together, it could still explode with great lethality. However, the Acne Crystal Muscle specialization gave him a headache. There were simply too many outstanding Feys that had failed because of their exclusive skill, Tool Transformation. Therefore, Lin Yuan was prepared to ask Wang Su to see what this Acne Crystal Muscle could transform into. When Lin Yuan took out the Pink Thorn Crystal Muscle to observe, Wang Su saw Lin Yuan's interest in it. Before Lin Yuan could ask, Wang Su used his hand to knock on the Pink Thorn Crystal Muscle's shell and instructed it. Acne Crystal Muscle, begin Tool Transformation. This Pink Crystal Muscle had been cultivated for a long time. It had been placed in the warehouse of the Stormy Waveguard. Wang Su wasn't a creation master and didn't personally nurture the Acne Crystal Muscle. However, Wang Su was responsible for feeding the other steel barb muscles, including the Pink Crystal Muscle. This allowed Wang Su to issue commands to the Pink Thorn Crystal Muscle, even though he was not its contractor. However, the Acne Crystal Muscle obviously didn't give Wang Su any face. The Acne Crystal Muscle opened and closed its shell twice in Lin Yuan's hand, emitting 2 popping sounds. Upon seeing this, Wang Su felt a little awkward. He didn't expect that the Acne Crystal Muscle wouldn't even wave its fingers in front of Lin Yuan. This was too shameful. Wang Su could easily kill the pink thorn crystal muscle. However, if the pink thorn crystal muscle was unwilling to undergo the tool transformation, Wang Su had no way to force it. Wang Su scratched the back of his head and said, "When this pink thorn crystal muscle was first bred, we experimented with its normal and elite skills," Lin Huang said. "The normal level skill is slightly different from the other steel spike muscles. The elite grade skill is a group defense skill. It's considered a rare skill. On average, only one steel spike iron clams will appear after nurturing 3 to 5,000. It's just that this pink thorn crystal muscle's exclusive specialization is a bit too much, or I would have contracted this pink thorn crystal muscle a year ago." At this point, Wang Su's face revealed a helpless expression. Obviously, he was speechless at the appearance of the acne crystal clam after it had transformed. Upon hearing Wang Su's regretful sigh, Lin Yuan's heart thumped. Could it be that the acne crystal clam's tool transformation was really bad? If that was the case, then this acne crystal muscle was very suitable for Chu Si's combat style. However, he had to consider whether he should let her contract this acne crystal muscle or not. If the tool transformation was useless, the acne crystal muscle would have one less exclusive skill. This would greatly affect the overall value of the acne crystal muscle. However, he still decided to see for himself what the acne crystal muscle could transform into. Lin Yuan circulated the spiritual power in his body slightly, and an imperceptible stream of spirit qi flowed through his palm and into the acne crystal muscle's shell. At that instant, Lin Yuan commanded the acne crystal muscle. Acne crystal muscle, tool transformation. As Lin Yuan's voice fell, the pinkish-purple acne crystal muscle in his palm suddenly shone brightly. The width of the clamshell became narrower and longer. Finally, it formed a pinkish-purple flower sword that was over 80 centimeters long. Including the sword hilt, it was almost 1 meter long. The flower sword that the acne crystal muscle transformed into was very attractive and looked even more magnificent than the original color of the acne crystal muscle. The pinkish-purple sword was in a semi-crystallized state. The semi-crystallized sword body glowed with the unique milky pearl light of the clamshell. The spikes on the clamshell had all turned into the sword body's carvings. The flower sword's hilt was bent backward, half surrounding the sword wielder's hand, and it could protect the wielder's palm very well. Lin Yuan wasn't the pink thorn crystal muscle's contractor, so he couldn't control the pink thorn crystal muscle's flower sword. However, according to Lin Yuan's knowledge and the precedents of other fays transforming into swords, Lin Yuan could infer that when controlling the flower sword, he could use the foam crystal shield and iron thorn cross shield by swinging the sword. When the sword body touched the target or used the sword body to block damage, the iron thorn cross shield's effect would be automatically triggered. He looked at the flower sword that the acne crystal clam had transformed into and felt a little complicated. On the one hand, Wang Su's words had made Lin Yuan lose hope in the acne crystal muscle transformed weapon. Now that he looked at the flower sword, it could be said that it was undoubtedly the most suitable tool transformation for Chu Si. Because of her interest, Chu Si had practiced the flower sword for half a year. During the All-Star match, Chu Si had relied on the flower sword to counterattack by exploding the shield to defeat the Dragon Gate Guild Club's reserve member, Chen Hafeng. On the other hand, Lin Yuan had wanted to find a defense-type Fei for Chu Si. However, the sword transformed from the acne crystal clam gave Chu Si another reason to fight in close combat. It seemed that Chu Si would become more and more reckless in the future battles. Therefore, Lin Yuan felt that his Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan, which he had just started, had a bad start. At that moment, Lin Yuan was secretly planning the Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan, which he had just started. Before the Iron Bucket Sister transformation plan, Lin Yuan was determined to change Chu Si's reckless habits. Fortunately, the acne crystal muscle transformed into a flower sword, which made Chu Si reckless, and also increased her overall appearance. When Chu Si took out the acne crystal muscle's flower sword in the S tournament or the Radiance 100 sequences selection, it would definitely be able to wash away the title of Iron Ox Princess, which Lin Yuan had always found unacceptable. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Wang's surprised voice. Sigh. This acne crystal muscle is very stubborn. If it doesn't agree, there's no point in discussing it. Why is this acne crystal muscle so obedient to you? If you want him to transform, he'll transform. Based on the mask on Lin Yuan's face, Wang Su confirmed his identity as the Sky City Lord as soon as they met. Wang Su had thought that Lin Yuan might be a creation master, but even if a creation master wanted an uncontracted Fae to submit to him, he wouldn't be able to do so. He would also need to take out some spirit liquids to entice the Fae and obtain its favorable impression. Lin Yuan had not taken anything out just now. He did not even make any extra movements. Why would the acne crystal muscle listen to Lin Yuan? Since he had decided to let Chu Ci contract the pink thorn crystal muscle, the first thing he had to do was to get it from Wang Su. Maybe this little fellow and I hit it off too well. I like it very much. I wonder if I can trade this little guy from your hands? Lin Yuan's words made Wang Su hesitate. ABC, Chapter 1293. Lin Yuan paused for a moment before continuing. I hope that no matter what happens in the next few days, the stormy wave guards won't interfere with what's happening on the distant islands of the Sea of Bliss. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Wang Su suddenly became nervous. Firstly, Wang Su did not expect to have the opportunity to speak directly with Cicada Cry's disciple. Secondly, Lin Yuan had said that there would be a commotion that might affect Shocking Wave City in the next few days. The island of the Blissful Sea Clan was the furthest island from the Stormy Wave City. It was about 800 nautical miles away from here. At such a distance, just how big of an earthquake would it take to affect Stormy Wave City? At the same time, Wang Su was surprised that Sky City was able to communicate with the spirit guards and ask them for help. Even if the City Lord of Stormy Wave City personally went to the Spirit Sector branch of Stormy Wave City to ask for help, the guard envoy wouldn't give him any face. All the guard envoys were directly under the bureau chief. One had to know that some of the more senior guard envoys might not even listen to everything the left and right custodians say. One of the guard envoys in Stormwave City Spirit Sector branch was such a veteran. It turned out that Sky Castle was not only related to Lord Cicada's disciple, Gao Feng, but also to the spirit guards. It seemed that the Sky Castle, which was currently in the center of public opinion, had two majesties standing behind it. It was hard not to fear such a force. Wang Su nodded and said, I will arrange for the spirit guards and spirit guards to coordinate their defense. If Sky City makes too much noise on the distant islands and threatens the safety of Stormy Wave City, Yi Futian said, Sky City will need to give Stormy Wave City an explanation after this. Lin Yuan replied in an abnormally solemn tone. Letting the spirit guards know in advance is just in case. Not threatening the safety of the people in Stormy Wave City is my bottom line. In fact, Lin Yuan had asked Redthorn to inform Bai Yin so that he would have more strength to resist the sea species experts, competing with the experts around in He. On the other hand, it was also to ensure the safety of Stormy Wave City. After negotiating with Wang Su and handing over the resources of the Sea of Bliss, Lin Yuan was ready to leave the City Lord Mansion and meet up with Lu Jie's slaughtering sky butterfly. The mother of Bloodbath asked Lin Yuan as soon as he stepped out of the room. City Lord, now that everything has been settled, Qi Heng is no longer of any use. What are you going to do? Lin Yuan followed the mother of Bloodbath's gaze and saw Qi Heng, who was motionless like a bamboo pole on the training ground. Mother of Bloodbath, let Qi Heng return to the royal capital to deal with the aftermath of the Sea of Bliss. Tell Qi Heng to give him the 5 million radiance dollars after he is done with the Paradise Sea tribe. The mother of Bloodbath's figure flashed and appeared in front of Qi Heng. There's nothing for you to do here. You can return to the capital now. I won't take back the red crystal spider on your shoulder. I will use it to keep an eye on you. Don't try to play any tricks when we go back to clean up the mess. After speaking, the mother of Bloodbath returned to Lin Yuan's side in a flash. Lin Yuan and the mother of Bloodbath left the City Lord Mansion under Wang Su's escort. Qi Heng, who was standing on the training ground, had an unusually ugly expression, but he could do nothing about the mother of bloodbath's arrangements. He could only return to the royal capital with his tail between his legs. Chi-Hung felt rather regretful that he could not see the conflict between Sky City and His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple, Anha. Chi-Hung secretly thought, it doesn't matter how strong your Sky City is. If you dare to have a conflict with His Holiness Eternal Lamp's disciple, if you don't die, who will? Under the dusk of flowing clouds, the setting sun plated the flowing clouds with a faint blood-red color. At that moment, there were 7 faint beams of light shining between the clouds. Tracing the source of the light, the 7 faint beams of light came from an unusually luxurious fey carriage. This fey carriage looked like a temple. There were a variety of fey carriages, and although the shape of a temple was rare, it was not non-existent. However, what was rather strange was that the carriage was actually being pulled by 7 lanterns that emitted beams of light at the front of the carriage. If one looked closely at the lanterns, they would find that each lantern had 1,000 fireflies. It was obvious that each of the 7 lamps contained thousands of fays similar to fireflies. A fey carriage pulled by lanterns was galloping in the sky. Inside the carriage, a youth with medium-long hair was playing with a rainbow ball of light. The young man's eyes were as sharp as a falcon's, but the teardrop mole under his right eye made his sharp eyes look much gentler. There were 2 middle-aged men sitting beside the young man. Apart from the 2 middle-aged men, there was also an old man standing behind the young man. The old man's eyes were half closed, but his aura was firmly enveloped around the young man. Although the old man wasn't sitting in the fey carriage like the 2 middle-aged men, the 2 middle-aged men were abnormally respectful to the old man. One of the middle-aged men smiled as he looked at the young man who was playing with the 7-colored ball of light. Little Pavilion Master, His Eminence Bamboo Monarch's disciple, Gu Lang, did not even last 10 minutes against you. In the Radiance Envoy selection 2 years later, the Little Pavilion Master will definitely be able to fight for the top 3 spots. Before the middle-aged man could finish speaking, the young man who was playing with the 7-colored ball of light glared at the middle-aged man. The young man flipped his hand and kept the colorful light ball into the lantern-shaped bracelet on his wrist as he said in an unfriendly tone, "Uncle Chung, I've told you many times not to call me Little Pavilion Master. Senior Brother is the best candidate for Young Pavilion Master. Calling me Little Pavilion Master is equivalent to being disrespectful to Senior Brother." This time, Gulang didn't use his full strength. He only used the Great Old Day Squid, his main Fey. He didn't even use his Desolate Bloodline Fey or Sacred Source life form. Gulang's Desolate Bloodline Fey is slightly stronger than Gulang's main Fey, the Great Old Day Squid. Gulang's true strength lies in the explosive power displayed by his Sacred Source life form when he activates his Desolate Bloodline Fey. He didn't even use his true strength, so there's nothing to be happy about even if I win. When the middle-aged man called Uncle Chung heard the young man's words, he smiled embarrassedly and felt a little helpless. Why can't I remember to address and he as young master he? And he had corrected him at least 20 to 30 times for calling him Little Pavilion Master. With this kind of memory, it was no wonder that he didn't like me. Why can't I have a better memory? Can someone teach me how to think before I speak? The other middle-aged man looked at the scenery outside the Fey carriage and looked at the time before speaking to an he. Young Master he, there's still a few hours before we reach Stormy Wave City. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1294. However, Young Master he, this large-scale whale fall is in the territory of Stormy Wave City. Should we inform the city lord of Stormy Wave City, Lung Xing? Upon hearing this, and he picked up a spirit fruit on the table in front of him and took a bite before replying. Uncle Jiang, didn't you say that the whale landed under the island of the Blissful Sea Tribe? Since that island has been bought by the Blissful Sea Tribe, it has nothing to do with the Stormy Wave City. We don't need to greet Stormy Wave City Lord Lung Xing. Uncle Chung, Uncle Jiang, the 5 Emperors mercenary team that you have established should still have a lot of people stationed on the distant islands of the Blissful Sea Clan, right? Go and contact them. If the people of the Blissful Sea Tribe are on the island, I will make a deal with them first. If the people of the Sea of Bliss aren't on the island, we can save ourselves the trouble. We can just go and deal with this huge whale fall directly. Anyway, the Blissful Sea Clan's Chi clan doesn't have the ability to fight against the Sea Clan's experts. Since they've already reached an agreement with the oceanic race's powerhouses, they said that they wouldn't have any designs on this huge whale fall. Then what does it have to do with the Blissful Sea Clan if we plan to attack this huge whale fall? Hearing in He's words, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang felt a little pain in their balls. What logic was young Master He using? Although it was true, when the Blissful Sea Tribe bought this island from the Stormy Wave City, the Blissful Sea Tribe's territory had already been destroyed. It had already been notarized by the City Lord's Mansion and the Spirit Guards of Stormy Wave City. In the end, if this large-scale whale fall really caused a ruckus, it was highly likely that the news would reach the ears of Her Holiness Cicada Cry and Her Holiness Night Leaning Moon. His Holiness Cicada Cry and His Holiness Eternal Lantern had a good relationship. If His Holiness Cicada Cry knew about it, he might turn a blind eye to it for the sake of Lord Chongdeng. However, the relationship between Her Highness Night, Leaning Moon, and Lord Long Lamp had always been like fire and water, and they had never given each other face in the Imperial Court Conference. If Her Majesty Night, Leaning Moon knew about this, she would definitely not let this matter rest. However, both Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang knew and He's temper very well, and he would definitely not be able to listen to them at this time. Therefore, the two decided to persuade and he in another direction. Otherwise, if things really got out of hand, when His Holiness the Eternal Lamp returned to the Bright Lamp Tower from the Outer Realm, His Holiness the Eternal Lamp Tower wouldn't be able to escape. Lord Chongdeng doted on an he and wouldn't say anything to an he, but the two of them were different. The two of them would not be able to escape Lord Chongdeng's punishment. Sun Jiang rolled his eyes and said, "The two of us only heard the report of this whale fall from our subordinates. Our subordinates don't have the ability to detect the scale of this whale fall. If this large whale fall is not only the sad song of the giant whale, but also the burial of old island whales at the bottom of the sea, then there must be at least one sea king among the merfolk experts who came to protect us. The ocean kings all have undying strength. When fighting in the ocean king's strength will increase exponentially due to the environment. Young Master, he wants to use this whale fall to refine the sacred source life form. It will definitely affect the formation of the island whale embryo. I'm afraid that when the time comes, the Sea King powerhouses guarding this large-scale whale fall will go crazy, and the tsunami triggered by the power of the four seas will threaten the distant Stormy Wave City." And he still didn't care at all. He threw the fruit that was left with only the core into the trash can. Let's not talk about whether or not there are island whales buried at the bottom of the sea. Even if there are sea kings, there's nothing to worry about. Grandpa Goo will take care of it. With Grandpa Goo around, even the Sea King powerhouses won't be able to cause a tsunami. Unless an expert at the peak of a mortal realm comes, I'm going to take this whale fall. The most I can do with this whale fall to refine the sacred source life form is to prevent the newly formed island whale embryos from hatching. The ocean species experts have always cared about whether the island whales can hatch or not whether the island whales will be controlled by humans. As long as I promise the ocean species expert guarding the whale fall will hatch the island whale embryos, the ocean species experts won't reject me. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man behind and he opened his eyes and said, "Young Master he, when we reach the island, I will find the strongest ocean species expert guarding the whale fall and negotiate with him. Young Master he, when we get to the island, this old man will find the strongest sea race powerhouse who guarded this large-scale whale fall and negotiate with him. Young Master he, when we reach the island, I will find the strongest ocean species expert guarding the whale fall and negotiate with him. If you can upgrade the sacred source life form to 4 stars and obtain the second function before Lord Eternal Lamp returns, I'm sure Lord Eternal Lamp will be very happy." Hearing and he and the Taoist protector arranged by His Holiness behind, and he said so, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang knew that it was useless to persuade them. The Blissful Ocean Tribe had defeated the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden in the Blood Oath Extreme Battle. The Blissful Ocean Tribe had won because of Sky City. Sky City wouldn't help the Blissful Ocean Tribe for no reason. The Blissful Ocean Tribe must have given Sky City a lot of benefits. Would the Blissful Sea Tribe tell Sky City about this massive whale fall? If they told them, Sky City would definitely fight for the whale fall, which was an irresistible temptation. Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang had personally witnessed the blood oath extreme battle between Sky City and the Zheng family. Both of them believed that Sky City had at least a high-level Emperor-level expert. When Miao Jinshan arrived, he didn't attack immediately after investigating. This meant that the expert from Sky City was either very good at hiding, or he was at least one level stronger than Miao Jinshan. Sky City, this mysterious faction, seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Not only did it have a huge amount of Creation Master resources, but it was also enough for Sky City to customize a bronze/epic Fae every day. At the same time, Sky City had enough combat power to become a top faction. Since Sky City was so well hidden, it wasn't impossible for there to be an immortal expert overseeing it. If Sky City had an immortal expert and came to compete in secret, then it was likely to cause some trouble for Enhe. Zhang Cheng pondered for a moment and finally decided to mention this matter to Enhe. Young Master He, have you heard of Sky City? Hearing this, and he threw the grapes into his mouth impatiently, shaking his head as he did so. Enhe's action of shaking his head made Zhang Cheng extremely embarrassed, and he didn't know about Sky City, so Zhang Cheng didn't know where to start talking about this matter to Enhe. Hearing Zhang Cheng mention Sky City, the old man behind, and he had a serious expression. He said to Enhe in a cautious tone, "Speaking of Sky City, I just discussed it with Lord Eternal Lamb some time ago. If Zhang Cheng didn't mention it, I wouldn't have thought about it. Young Master He, you have to be prepared. Sky City is likely to cause trouble during this whale fall." And he helplessly spat out the grape seeds that he hadn't spat out for a long time. "Grandpa Goo, it's not like you don't know that I don't like Star Web. After I reached 80 stars on the Star Tower's Celestial Stairway and entered the Hall of Fame, I haven't logged into Star Web. What exactly is Sky City? Who can tell me about it?" 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1295. The old man knew that he would ask this. Among the young talents of a younger generation, and he was definitely the most extreme old-school otaku. He didn't go on the Star Web, didn't browse the forum, and didn't even use his phone. He could stay in the Bright Lantern Tower for 2 years and never went out. It wasn't until Lord Long Lantern did some ideological work in the first half of the year that he went out to explore. He was no longer embarrassed in the Bright Lantern Tower like an abandoned otaku. Not to mention Sky City, which was a rising force in the past year. Even the names of the disciples of the Moon Empress, Chief Guard Yi, and Lord Cicada Cry. And he couldn't even remember them after Lord Long Lantern told him once last time. Originally, Lord Long Lantern wanted to take Enhe to participate in the Nyx assembly a few months ago. Enhe's age was just right to participate in the civil and military duels. But who would have thought that Enhe, who returned to the Bright Lantern Tower after a few months of training, was unwilling to move and didn't participate in the Nyx assembly. He stood up Lord Long Lantern Tower. It was for this reason that Lord Long Lantern, who had always doted on Enhe, decided to discipline Enhe. After the education, Enhe, who had just returned to the Long Lantern Tower after a few months of training, was kicked out again. Originally, the old man wanted to teach Enhe about Sky City personally. As it turned out, Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang had already started explaining to Enhe one after another. While listening, Enhe nodded gently, and he didn't put on airs as a disciple of Her Holiness and say that Sky City wasn't worthy of competing with him for this large whale fall. Instead, he said calmly, "If Sky City really intends to compete with me for this large whale fall, then it will depend on each other's capabilities. If Sky City isn't capable, then they will have to pay the price for thinking about the large whale fall and then be driven away by me. If Sky City has the ability to snatch the large whale fall from my hands, then just take it away. I can't blame others for being too strong, even if I don't have the ability." After saying that, perhaps because he ate too much fruit just now, and he yawned, and he made a silent gesture to Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang, and then said to the old man behind him, "Grandpa Goo, I'm too sleepy and want to sleep for a while. Wake me up when we get to the island." After saying that, and he closed his eyes, leaving the old man behind him curling his lips. The old man looked at Zhang Cheng and Sun Jiang, who were sitting quietly in their seats, and sighed. The old man had seen Annie's bad temper when he woke up. Annie's biggest hobby was sleeping. Whoever woke and he up from his sleep would be glared at by he until the next time he went to sleep. At the thought of this, the old man pointed at Zhang Cheng. After Zhang Cheng looked at him, the old man pointed at he, who was resting with his eyes closed. Zhang Cheng immediately understood what the old man meant. He nodded happily. Young master, he had some complaints about him because he didn't think before he spoke. He would be able to perform well when he woke young master he up later. At this time, Zhang Cheng was already pressing his throat with his hands, silently practicing how to pronounce the words "wake up" better. Zhang Cheng, who was happily practicing his voice, did not notice the apologetic look in the old man's eyes. Lin Yuan was staying in the guest house that Lu Jie and the Slaughter Butterfly had rented in Raging Wave City. 2 days had passed since Lin Yuan had first arrived in Indigo Azure City. 2 days ago, when Lin Yuan met up with the Slaughter Sky Butterfly and Lu Jie. Lu Jie ordered the Insect Queen to produce 20 hurricane owlet moths, then sent them to the distant island of the Blissful Sea Tribe 800 nautical miles away. The Black Wind Owlet Moth was very good at controlling the power of the wind. Under the wild sea breeze, the Black Wind Owlet Moth flew even faster. In addition, the Nightmare Owlet Moths were only the size of a fist, so these 20 Nightmare Owlet Moths could easily hide on the island and scout the situation. Through Lu Jie's investigation, Lin Yuan grasped the distribution of people on the island. Other than the 2,000 people that the Blissful Ocean Tribe had arranged to nurture the blissful angelfish on the island, there were only 4 king-level experts and 1 emperor-level expert under the 5 emperor mercenaries. In the meantime, the Emperor Realm expert had discovered several of Lu Jie's hurricane owlet moths. That Emperor-class expert from the 5 Sovereigns mercenary team immediately attacked and killed Lu Jie's hurricane owlet moth. The Blissful Sea Tribe had hired the 5 Emperors mercenary team to protect the island. The Blissful Ocean clan was in conflict with the Meow family in the Beast Creation Garden. The Blissful Ocean clan must have told the 5 Emperors about it. If they wanted to protect the island from the Meow family's Beast Creation Gardens people, just relying on Emperor-level experts was not enough. Lin Yuan guessed that the 5 Emperors mercenaries Emperor-class powerhouse, who was supposed to be stationed on the island, was not present. It was likely that he had sent a message to His Majesty Lamp's side. It seemed that it was inevitable for him to collide with the people of His Holiness the Eternal Lamp. Suddenly, the princess' voice echoed in Lin Yuan's mind. "Master, I finished absorbing the vast sea world crystal." Lin Yuan's eyes lit up when he heard the princess' words. He had been looking forward to this moment for the past 2 days. Lin Yuan returned to the spirit lock spatial zone and summoned the princess. He found that after absorbing the vast sea world crystals, the princess had changed a lot again. But this time, the change didn't happen at the hem of Luo Kun's skirt. Instead, it happened on Luo Kun's left shoulder and the princess' overall temperament. Ever since the Dark Death Law transformed into the Dark Death world, it was pulled out of the princess' skirt. It became a bat-shaped embroidery on the princess' left shoulder. After the princess absorbed the vast sea world crystal, the changes on the princess' left shoulder could be seen. Lin Yuan knew that the princess had perfectly mastered the vast sea world during the process of absorbing the vast sea world crystal. The additional giant whale embroidery on the princess' left shoulder could prove this very well. In fact, compared to the change on Luo Kun's left shoulder, the change in the princess' temperament was more obvious. The princess seemed to be much more mature than before. Of course, this maturity did not refer to the maturity of her appearance. If the princess previously gave people the feeling that she was a princess in the royal family who was well protected by the old king at this time, the old king had already told this princess, who was well protected by him, that she would inherit the throne in the future and become a queen. Now, the princess' temperament was full of a kind of proud nobility, and there was a hint of disdain in her eyes. Presumably, After absorbing a world source crystal and a world crystal, the Princess Star class should have increased from 2-star to 3-star. Lin Yuan thought, if the Princess Star class continued to increase, would the princess temperament become more and more like a queen? Just as Lin Yuan was observing the princess, he heard the princess speak. Master, I'll give you these 2 things. After saying that, the princess handed 2 pale golden crystals to Lin Yuan. ABC, Chapter 1296. Lin Yuan was rather unfamiliar with the items that Princess had handed over. However, he knew that these 2 pale gold crystals were truly good stuff. They were world crystals that could allow Fays above the 5 tribulations of creation to absorb and achieve a breakthrough in quality. Lin Yuan watched as Princess handed him the 2 world crystals and eagerly waited to be fed. Lin Yuan could not help but laugh as he handed the world crystal of the prismatic tortoise to Princess. Princess, you'll absorb this world crystal of the prismatic tortoise's body next. After absorbing this world crystal, I'll let you absorb the world crystal of the roaring sun world. After you're done absorbing the world crystal of the shadow binding world, you can absorb the world crystal of the holy healing white deer. Princess did not raise any objections and happily took the world crystal of the holy healing white deer. Princess was not picky when it came to good stuff like the world crystal. No matter which one she ate first, she would eat all the world crystals in the end. Lin Yuan was really good to her. Lin Yuan had already used Morbius True Data to check on princess attributes. Sacred source name: Sacred sword wielding princess, sacred source species. Source species / sacred source species, sacred source star. 3 stars, sacred source type. Main water / miscellaneous support functions frowny face princess form. 1 princess skirt can extract the willpower rune of a dead fae or source type item. It can also inscribe the willpower of the dead fantasy breed fae's willpower rune or the myth breed law crystal's laws on a princess skirt. At the same time, the law crystal that has its laws extracted will become a law crystal containing pure power of law. Sacred sword form: 1 sacred sword's blade. The blade pierces the skirt and consumes the body's spirit chi to strike out the same type of law and willpower stored in the skirt. Sword skill: Dark Death World Dark Crow Withering Strike. Inject all the power in the Dark Death World into the sacred sword. The sacred sword's blade will split into 28 night crows with the power of dark death. The contractor will swing the sacred sword to strike out 28 night crows for 28 attacks. If the 28 attacks form a combo, each combo will trigger an additional layer of withering effect. Every 14 stacks of withering would cause a withering attack on the target. 28 perfect combos would cause 56 withering effects to cause the target to enter a true withering state. Sword skill: Vast Water World Whale Sea Leap Wave Strike. Inject all the power of the vast water world into the holy sword. The holy sword gains the power to control water. Depending on the current environment and the size of the water body, the sword skill will be weakened or strengthened. The contestant can summon a huge whale in the water body when waving the holy sword. The whale will jump out of the water and launch a fierce attack. During the attack, the owner of the holy sword could decide to summon the state of the whale, allowing the whale and the huge wave raised by the whale to freely switch between water and ice. With one look, Lin Yuan discovered that Princess had indeed become a 3-star sacred source life form, just as he had expected. At the same time, after absorbing the vast water world crystal, the queen who had mastered the vast water world changed from the sacred source elements to the main dark element and the supplementary element. It became a main water element and a mix of auxiliary elements. That's right. Princess's sacred source system had focused on the dark element because the dark element world within her body had the most laws and wills. However, there were 2 creation earth veins in the vast water world crystal. There was 1 more creation earth vein than the dark death world. There was still a myth 3 dead dream law in Princess's robe. However, even if the myth 3 dead dream law and the dark death world with 1 creation earth vein were added together, they could not compare to the vast water world with 2 creation earth veins. Compared to Princess's sacred source system, What attracted Lin Yuan's attention the most was the new sword skill that Princess had obtained in her sacred sword mode, the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike. After carefully reading the introduction of the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike, Lin Yuan found that it was a sword skill that had extremely high requirements for the environment, in situations where there were no water bodies or small water bodies. Using the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike would greatly reduce the damage of the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike. This was because the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike strength was directly related to the size of the water body. But what if the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike was used on the sea? It had to be known that the sea regions were connected. As long as there were no especially large continents or islands in the sea region, it meant that the sea region could be extended infinitely. If the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike was used on the sea, the sword skill's lethality would be raised to a terrifying value that was difficult to estimate. When the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike was used, it would summon a giant whale in the water body. Moreover, the sacred sword could allow the giant whale and the giant waves it raised to freely switch between water and ice. Lin Yuan felt that apart from being used for attack, the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike could also be used as a control and defensive sword skill. When the giant wave raised by the giant whale attacked the target, it could turn the giant wave raised by the giant whale into ice. It could trap the target wrapped in the wave in ice. When facing a powerful attack, it could even turn the entire giant whale into ice and be used as a shield to block the attack. Although the Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike had extremely high requirements for the environment, it was superior in that it combined offense, defense, and defense. Overall, Lin Yuan was rather satisfied with the new Whale Sea Leaping Wave Strike. As he looked at Princess, who had already started to absorb the world crystal simulation, Lin Yuan could not help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Only God knew how much resources and effort he had invested to nurture Princess. But even though he had invested so much, the princess's current star level had only reached 3 stars. It hasn't passed the infancy stage yet. He really didn't know how long it would take for the princess to advance to a 4-star, from the infancy stage to the growth stage. This allowed her to obtain new abilities in both her princess and holy sword state. Suddenly, he thought of the 3 world crystals in his hands and the tens of thousands of law origin crystals that the princess had yet to absorb. Lin Yuan immediately regained his confidence. Anyway, with his current resources and ability to obtain resources, it was only a matter of time before he could raise the princess's star to 4 stars. Lin Yuan, who had just left the spirit-locked spatial zone, had yet to drink a mouthful of water when he heard a knock on the door. Lin Yuan hurriedly opened the door and saw Lu Jie standing there with an abnormally grim expression. Upon seeing Lin Yuan, Lu Jie hurriedly spoke. Lin Yuan, according to the hurricane owlet moth detection, a fey carriage is heading toward the island. Looking at the shape of this fey carriage, it must be Anha, who Qi Hong mentioned before. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied immediately, "Big brother Lu, let's go call the slaughtering butterfly and the mother of bloodbath first. Since the person competing with us for the large whale fall is here, it's time for us to set off." ABC, Chapter 1297. And he was yawning and stepping out of the fey carriage with an unhappy expression. Anha, who had just stepped out of the fey carriage, glanced at the glaring sun over the island, and his sleepy eyes suddenly became sharp. With a wave of his hand, a lavender worm was summoned by Anha, and he looked at the 2 moths that flashed over the island and said, "Earth overturning hibernating insect, find everything that shouldn't be on this island." Upon hearing Anhi's command, the light purple worm wriggled from his palm and landed on the ground. Upon hearing Anhi's command, the light purple worm wriggled from his palm and landed on the ground. Then the entire island began to tremble. Dozens of meandering stone pillars emerged from the ground, and the front of these stone pillars had mouth parts that looked like the light purple worm. The meandering stone pillars found and killed a total of 27 hurricane owlet moths in less than a moment. Then the stone pillars' mouth parts picked up the black-winged owlet moths' corpses and transported them to Anhi's feet. Lu Jie, who had followed Lin Yuan to call the mother of bloodbath and the slaughter sky butterfly, clearly saw this scene on the island. Lu Jie's eyes narrowed slightly, and a strong fighting spirit ignited in his heart. When Lu Jie had created the black-winged owlet moths, he had not intended for them to fight at all. The black-winged owlet moths, which had been entrusted with the mission of scouting, had condensed all their energy on their wings, causing these black-winged owlet moths' wings to be one size larger than the ones that Lu Jie usually created. These hurricane owlet moths had no attack power or defense at all. In addition, Lu Jie was commanding the hurricane owlet moths from 800 nautical miles away, so the effect was very limited. It could be said that 800 nautical miles was the limit of Lu Jie's scouting range with the hurricane owlet moths. Based on the speed of the wriggling stone pillar, the purple worm's strength was at least at the Diamond X/Fantasy V level. The situation on the island was completely out of Lu Jie's perception. Lu Jie immediately told him about the last scene he had detected. As early as a day ago, Red Thorn had controlled Lu Yinshan to find Bai Yin. Bai Yin was on standby at the Klein Hub in the Swamp World. When Lin Yuan needed Bai Yin, he only needed to let Purple Firmament inform Bai Yin to summon him immediately. Since it was confirmed that it was His Holiness Eternal Lantern's disciple, and he boarded the distant island, a fierce battle was inevitable. However, he wasn't in a hurry to head to the island. A large whale fall would be guarded by the sea race powerhouses. Since he was the first to arrive, he was bound to clash with the sea race powerhouses. The oceanic species experts and he were both touchstones. They could help Lin Yuan test how strong the oceanic species experts guarding this large-scale whale fall were. It could also help Lin Yuan test the strength of the expert behind he. After detecting both sides' trump cards, Lin Yuan could deal with them with ease. While everyone was riding the slaughter sky butterfly to the island, Lu Jie said softly to Lin Yuan, "Lin Yuan, I might not be able to help much in the battle later, but I can help clean up the sea environment." 2 days ago, Lu Jie had an in-depth conversation with Lin Yuan about this large-scale whale fall. Lu Jie's original intention was to use these 2 days to summon the left minister, Zhuaming. He had Zhuaming hide in the dark to deal with unpredictable dangers. In the end, Lin Yuan was already prepared, so Lu Jie gave up on the idea of calling the left palm official, Zhuaming. That's right, the left minister Zhuaming was Night Leaning Moon's right hand. On a certain level, it could represent Night Leaning Moon's will. As soon as Zhuaming appeared, the experts under the lamp would definitely be able to see through his identity. Zhuaming's appearance would change the nature of the fight for resources. It would turn into an open battle between the two forces. If His Majesty's forces clashed with each other, it would likely lead to a series of butterfly effects. This was not a good thing. However, even if Lin Yuan was prepared in advance, Lu Jie still wanted to do something within his power as Lin Yuan's retainer knight. Upon hearing Lu Jie's words, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly replied, "That's right. Brother Lu, it's great that you can clean up the sea. If I could try to drive the weak aquatic phase in the sea far away and get them away from the range of the large whale fall." Lin Yuan was really afraid that if he executed the whale sea-leaping wave strike, those weak life forms would be instantly torn into pieces by the energy erupting from the sea. Upon hearing this, Lu Jie raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The dimensional light moth with the insect queen in its belly immediately appeared beside Lu Jie. Lu Jie circulated his spiritual power, and the spiritual power in his body surged violently. The insect queen produced a large number of hurricane owlet moths in the dimensional light moth's belly. Lu Jie then asked the insect queen to summon 2 insect-type carcinoma phase that Lu Jie had never used before. One of the insect-type carcinoma phase was like a small light bulb, and its insect limbs were soft and slender. The large insect belly was filled with a milky white turbid liquid. The other insect-type carcinoma phase was like a grayish-brown rock and was very inconspicuous. However, this insect-type carcinoma phase had 2 giant chelicerae at its front and a pair of thick insect tails at its back. The chelicerae and insect tails had sharp mouth parts, and it looked like a glutton. After Lu Jie summoned these 2 insect-type carcinoma phase, He took out a few protein silkworm chrysalises and tossed them at them. Subsequently, these two insect-type carcinoma phase rapidly produced a large number of insect eggs in front of Lin Yuan. The dimensional light moth released all the hurricane owlet moths that the insect queen had produced. The dimensional light moth was like an aircraft carrier, and the hurricane owlet moths that Lu Jie had sent out were all transport planes. They were assigned by Lu Jie to transport the eggs produced by the two insect-type carcinoma phase. Afterward, the two insect-type carcinoma phase eggs were scattered into the sea, and the efficiency was maximized. The instant Lin Yuan saw these two insect-type carcinoma phase, he didn't even use true data to recognize them. Lin Yuan didn't expect Lu Jie to actually control these two terrifying existences. The milky white light bulb insect-type carcinoma phase was called the floating hatworm, and it was a life form that had an extremely strong control over water bodies. The floating hatworm's eggs would be scattered into the sea by the hurricane owlet moths. These eggs would quickly hatch on the surface of the sea and turn into small floating hatworms. The small floating hatworms would absorb the environment's energy and rapidly proliferate. When several small floating hatworms were placed side by side, after proliferating, they would form an assembly that was close to 100 square meters in the sea. It looked like a dense jellyfish colony. However, as an insect-type carcinoma phase, the floating hatworm wasn't as simple as a jellyfish. When the floating hatworm was in the water, its soft and slender insect limbs would constantly extend and become very tough. App, not bad at all. It's worth installing. It actually supports both Android and Apple phones. As long as there was water, these tough insect limbs would rapidly expand and grow. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 1298. At the same time, these tough insect limbs would secrete a jelly-like substance that was extremely difficult to break free from. This jelly-like substance was like a fishnet without any holes, and it was enough to catch all the creatures in the sea in one go. With the dark floating hatworm around, as long as those colonies floated on the sea surface with the sea breeze, all the creatures in the sea that were weaker than the dark floating hatworm would be stuck by the mucus secreted by the tentacles. The sea would be cleared in an instant. The mucus secreted by the dark floating hatworm was actually its food warehouse. In order to ensure the freshness of the food, the mucus would provide enough nutrients to maintain the basic life of the creatures caught in the net. Using this method, Lu Jie could bring away all the creatures in the sea that were weaker than the dark floating hatworm. After this storm was over, Lu Jie only needed to control the dark floating hatworm's queen to activate the destruction mechanism of the eggs. The dark floating hatworm colonies that were produced in the sea would rapidly degrade into nutrients, and the mucus secreted would also lose its stickiness. Perhaps these aquatic phase that were brought to a safe place by the dark floating hatworm could obtain a chance encounter. The other tumor phase that looked like a brown rock was called the reef lice. The density of the reef lice's eggs was very high, so their eggs would hatch about 50 meters below the water surface. After the eggs hatched, the small reef lice would rapidly change the pressure in its body and sink to the bottom of the sea. When the reef lice reached the bottom of the sea, it would rapidly eat the rocks at the bottom of the sea. At the same time, it would secrete an extremely hard calcified substance. When these calcified substances were piled up, they would form all kinds of steep and majestic stone peaks in the water. The reef lice had once appeared in the distant sea area of Wind Mist City. It was rumored that the reef lice had been taken in by the spirit guards. At that time, the reef lice had almost curbed Wind Mist City's economic development. The substance secreted by the reef lice had once formed stone peaks that were level with the sea surface and even protruded out of the sea surface. It had almost turned Wind Mist City from a coastal city into an inland city. The reef lice was good at reclaiming land from the sea, but the stone peaks that the reef lice secreted were definitely not something that Wind Mist City wanted to see. Wind Mist City's economy had originally ranked in the top 20 among the 36 major cities. Due to the reef lice's rampage, Wind Mist City's economy had suddenly fallen to the bottom within a year. As a result, the Gao family's ranking among the top forces plummeted. After 5 to 6 years of development, Wind Mist City's economy started to recover slowly. It was no longer a bottom-feeder existence by relying on the resources of the sea region. However, after that incident, Wind Mist City never made into the top 20 of the big cities. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were the nightmare of Wind Mist City. Perhaps the reef-striking lice that the insect queen was controlling was the one that had appeared in the distant sea of Wind Mist City. Jia had absolute control over the queen louse. Since the mother louse could make its larvae secrete calcium, it could also make its larvae eat the calcium. Therefore, Jia's current actions would not have any impact on Stormy Wave City's distant sea resources. At the same time, the reef lice's stone peak could maximize the safety of the underwater phase. The floating hatworm and the reef-hitting lice blocked the sea from the surface to the bottom of the sea, while the reef-hitting lice blocked the bottom of the sea. If these two insect-type carcinoma phase were to wreak havoc together, no coastal city would be able to resist them. Back then, the reef-striking lice that had wreaked havoc outside Wind Mist City was only at silver, while the insect queen's reef-striking lice was already at Diamond X. The reef-striking lice outside Wind Mist City could not be compared to the current one in terms of prowess. As he watched Jia commanding the insect swarm, Lin Yuan felt that Jia was becoming more and more like a natural disaster. However, Jia's current actions also proved that everything had two sides. The insect-type carcinoma phase that had always been a disaster in the sea region, the nether floating hatworm, and the reef lice were doing their best to protect the stability of the sea region. Perhaps, Night Leaning Moon's original intention of letting Jia contract the carcinoma phase was to let Jia use his calamity body to defend the sea region and do good deeds. On the other side, Anha was fiddling with the hurricane owlet moth's corpse with great interest. Zhang Cheng, Sun Jiang, and the elder had also alighted from the carriage. Zhang Cheng had a dumbfounded expression. He had trained his vocal cords for over an hour, and his voice was already in its most gentle state. But why was it that after waking he up, and he glared at him to the point that he began to doubt his life? When the elder saw Zhang Cheng's dumbfounded expression, he silently expressed his apology. He then bent over to pick up a hurricane owlet moth and looked at it before asking Sun Jiang, who was beside him, "Is there a creation master among the 5 Thearchs mercenaries stationed on the island? Ask him to come over and see what exactly this insect-type Fey is." Hearing this, Sun Jiang revealed an awkward expression. "Our 5 Thearchs mercenaries only have a total of 2 Class 4 creation masters, and they have been left at the headquarters." A Class 4 creation master was a precious treasure to the 5 Thearchs Mercenary Alliance. The 5 Thearchs mercenaries had not been established for a long time, and they were able to have a good ranking among the top factions because of their martial strength. This was also the main reason why the 5 Thearchs mercenaries had chosen to have a good relationship with the coiling Dragon Valley. All of a sudden, Sun Jiang's eyes flickered. Since this was the place where the sea of bliss nurtured Fays, there must be a creation master stationed here. Zhang Jiang was prepared to look for one. Before Zhang Jiang could look for one, Anha raised his hand and stopped him. Anha wasn't a creation master and couldn't see the hurricane owlet moths on the ground. However, and he was not very interested in what exactly these 20 moths were. In short, these 27 moths shouldn't have appeared on the island. For them to appear on the island, it was most likely that someone had been monitoring the island before they had arrived. Since someone wanted to monitor the island, there must be a purpose. Since they were here, if the person monitoring the island was also a large whale fall, he would have to show up to meet them. Anha lowered his head and ordered the light purple hinterland hibernating worm at his feet. Hinterland hibernating worm, start to absorb the energy in this island soil and carry out the cocoon transformation. Under Anha's command, the hinterland hibernating worm's body suddenly stiffened. Subsequently, the hinterland hibernating worm was like a violently beating heart, causing the entire island to echo with rhythmic thumping sounds. Immediately after, the hinterland hibernating worm frantically danced its body and spat out light purple liquid. Once the light purple liquid was spat out, it immediately turned into a large clump of sticky worm silk. Logically speaking, a 3 to 5 centimeters hinterland hibernating worm's cocoon would only be the size of a fist. However, this hinterland hibernating worm's light purple cocoon was even bigger than the breeding room that the Sea of Bliss had built on the distant island. The 20-meter wide and 25-meter tall cocoon made Anha, who was below the cocoon, look rather small. Chapter 1299. After the giant cocoon was formed, the heartbeat in the center of the cocoon sounded again. This time, along with the heartbeat, the land near the cocoon began to tremble rhythmically. It was hard to imagine what kind of creature would hatch out of the cocoon. Looking at the cocoon in front of him, and he attached his hand to the cocoon and gently stroked it twice. Then he said to the old man behind him, "Grandpa Goo, there's no time to lose. Grandpa Goo, there's no time to lose. Help me call out the strongest sea race powerhouse who's guarding this whale fall." Just as the old man behind and he was about to nod, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he looked toward the distant sea. At that moment, a huge whirlpool had suddenly appeared in the sea. As the whirlpool rotated, the color of the entire sea changed from a bright light blue to a gloomy dark blue. A clear and gentle voice came from the center of the whirlpool. This clear and gentle voice was filled with extreme rage. As expected, the humans are plotting for this massive whale fall. Do you humans really think that the sea creatures are easy to bully? After the gentle voice that was full of anger echoed, the entire dark blue sea was set off with fine waves. These fine waves piled up layer by layer and swept a large amount of seawater onto the island. The huge waves engulfed half of the island, and even the fishery built by the Blissful Sea clan was smashed into pieces by the huge waves. A large number of angelfish of Blissful took this opportunity to escape into the sea. The old man behind, and he shouted in a solemn tone, "Deep sea color. I didn't expect the sea near my Radiance territory to be the fief of the Sea Empress 8 clans. May I know which clan among the Sea Empress 8 clans are you from? Please come out and meet me. Our young master, he has something to discuss with you." As soon as the old man's voice fell, a cold snort came from the whirlpool. "What is this Empress identity? Is it something a mere human like you can meet? The large-scale whale fall is a gift from nature to the sea, and it belongs to all the creatures of the sea creatures. You humans shouldn't be thinking about it. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, the deep sea will be your final destination." Upon hearing that, and he waved his hand without another word, and a giant beast that was bigger than the island appeared out of thin air in the sea. This giant beast was shaped like a bull. Its skin was covered in layers of scales, and its skin was grayish-blue. The towering beast was like a huge mountain rising from the bottom of the sea to the surface of the sea. After being summoned by Ankh, the giant beast let out a fierce roar. The gigantic beast's voice was like thunder. Following its roar, the entire sea returned to silence. All the seawater that had just crashed into the island along with the huge wave flowed back into the sea, leaving only the huge whirlpool spinning in the sea. Anha looked in the direction of the vortex and said coldly, "This young master doesn't think that the members of the Sea Empire's 8 clans, who are not valued, have anything to be proud of. If you were a member of the Sea Empress 8 clans that was the center of attention, your fief wouldn't have been distributed around the Radiance continent. Radiance and the Sea clan have signed the Radiance Sea Treaty. According to the Radiance Sea Treaty, the sea region within 1,000 kilometers of Radiant City belongs to the resources controlled by Radiant City. This large whale fall happened right below Stormy Wave City. According to the Huihai Treaty, the large whale fall right below the island belongs to the owner of the island. This young master wants to tell you that not everything in the sea belongs to the Sea clan. The things that belong to Radiance are in the sea, and you Sea clan people can't take them away." While Anha was speaking, a petite figure appeared in the whirlpool. This petite figure was wrapped in a silver-blue robe, and her silver-blue long hair flowed down to her feet. Above her bluish-purple eyes, there were 2 long horns that were almost as tall as her body. The strange thing was that the ends of the long horns weren't hard and sharp, but 2 silver-blue fins. There was a bright golden line in the middle of the fins. Behind this woman stood two middle-aged women, one fat and one thin, who looked no different from humans. However, these two middle-aged women clearly had the characteristics of aquatic fays. The thinner middle-aged woman had translucent hair, and her body was wrapped in a thick layer of water vapor. The other fat middle-aged woman had bright red scales on her cheeks, and a few sharp thorns protruded from her back. She had a fierce look on her face. However, be it the petite silver-blue long-haired woman standing above the whirlpool or the fat and thin middle-aged women, they all frowned and looked solemn. The fays that Anha had summoned in the sea had directly revealed his identity. The aura of a bloodline of desolation fae was very easy to identify, and only Her Holiness disciples, and Radiance envoys could obtain such fays. Moreover, there were certain restrictions for Her Holiness disciples to obtain them. Not every Her Holiness disciple could obtain a bloodline of desolation fae. Moreover, Radiance envoys mostly moved in groups, and it was rare for them to act alone in public. Therefore, it was almost certain that this youth with the bloodline of desolation fae was a disciple of one of the Radiance envoys. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. However, this large whale fall was of great importance. The silver-blue long-haired woman made a decision in her heart. No matter what, this large whale fall couldn't be taken away by this youth in front of her, even if this youth was a disciple of one of the Radiance envoys. The silver-blue long-haired woman had such an idea partly because of the Sea Clan's mission. On the other hand, it was out of consideration for her own interests. When the old man behind Anha saw the nearly 3-meter-long fin ribbon at the end of the purple-blue long-haired woman's two giant horns and the thick golden silk thread in the middle of the fin ribbon, his expression became more and more solemn. Anha also noticed this, however, and he didn't take this to heart and spoke bluntly. So, it's the royal clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Clan. It said that the royal clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Clan has endless internal strife. The royal clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Clan has fallen from the upper 3 clans to the lower 5 clans 100 years ago. Due to the internal strife, the royal clan slowly declined to the bottom of the 5 clans. Now that I look at it, it's not without reason that the royal clan is at the bottom of the 5 clans. The golden color on your fin ribbon is so rich, and your bloodline is so noble, but the royal clan didn't give you a piece of the rich sea domain in the ocean as a territory. Instead, they made you come here to compete with Radiance for resources. It seems like you're the sacrifice of the royal clan's internal strife. When the old man heard Anha's words, the corners of his mouth twitched. It was fine if young master he could see through these words, but why did he have to say it out loud? Wasn't this poking the royal clan's woman's sore spot? According to the old man's perception, the royal clan's woman's strength was not his match. This royal clan's expert who had just reached adulthood was only at level 3 Immortal Realm. It was not a match for the 2 Sea King experts standing behind him. However, although the old man could sense that the royal clan's woman's strength was not his, he didn't dare to relax. End of this chapter.